What is Moody?
What is up, Samson? These playoffs you were just talking about. We're gonna get to that football later.
Yeah, I mean that will just take up a whole episode. That just it's a show in itself. Like,
Yeah, we'll just do a
uh,
conference championship special, maybe. There you go.
put that in the ether. Definitely put that in the ether. I feel very. I'm not gonna say very confident, but I'm feeling good tonight. I'm feeling good. I feel like there's gonna be a Cincinnati game that like the same game that we had at Cincinnati. I feel like that could be the same thing.
Yeah,
Where
yeah,
like at the end of the day, hey, we might be up, and it's like we can either kick a field goal and allow Detroit the chance to go down the field and possibly score and take the lead, or Jaden could just put the nail in the coffin and score a touchdown and basically just end it. And so,
yeah.
hey, we got we got 7.5 hours left until that game starts. So my mind is all about getting to 8 o'clock tonight. But let's start with Sunday Percy's, and I'll let you start off.
Yeah, mine is simple just because I was ticked off at you for recommending Cinephobe. That, of course, I listened to it. And I just picked a few of them that were obviously, like you said, that I know just off top. Like the first one I listened to was Mortal Kombat Annihilation. And I was like, yep, I fucking love that movie. Like, that's like my favorite kid. Like, as a kid, I love this shit and it's fucking terrible. So yeah, it was funny to listen to. I listened to a few more episodes, but
did you listen to the Bloodsport episode? Because I know you said you watched Bloodsport.
I listened to it. Yeah, it was funny. So yeah, I mean they were already in the rotation, but just lightly. You know what I'm saying? Like I just never like habitually listened to them, but then I got annoyed because I was like, man, this nigga gave me a whole like because we be listening to pods. Like that's the inspiration of like why I said we should have a pod like literally 5+ years ago. We should have been doing this, but it was just like, bruh, he gonna give me some homework. So I was like, that's when I sent you that little clipping of Bodega Boys. I officially am on a Bodega Boys re-listen, and I raise you 50K. That's what that title was. Like I pushed my chips in. I challenge you to listen to Bodega Boys and not keep listening to it because they were so great, dog. Like just so like non-topical or like they're out of time. You know what I'm saying? They're just guys bullshitting. So it's like you can just listen to them like regardless. And I was just like, man, this is my shit. So I listened to like 2 or 3 of their later episodes, around coronavirus time, like their later, way later episodes. And I was like, man, I missed the art. And so I sent you that clip. So I challenge you to listen to an episode and take that out of your rotation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's been a minute. Obviously, I haven't listened to the Bodegas. I mean, I was listening to them when they were on. And so obviously when they not fell off, but when they split apart, there's not much you can do about it. It's funny that you mentioned that you went on like a Bodega Boys re-listen, because I'm pretty sure I don't follow the subreddit, but it pops up in my feed. But I'm pretty sure there was another person that was like, "Oh, I'm on mic." They went back to like episode 1, of the Bodega Boys, and I was like, that is so weird because again, to your point, it's a topical episode. Like they're topical shows, and so it just seems like, why would you go back to 2014 and listen to what these niggas were saying?
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, I guess. I mean, like you said, it's very comedic. They're off topic, and then they'll just be joking around and goofing around. So I might have to do it. It's one where I have to pick like an episode of like what is the conversation that they're having for the week, and I'm like, all right, I don't know if I can go through like a full straight one at like episodes 1 through 50. I'm like, that's a little too much for me, but I could definitely go picking, how like our other podcasts we listen to, Around the Way Curls, they'll be putting up like previous episodes when like they need like an off week. And I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, I can do that. Cause some things are, not cyclical, but could still be relevant years later. So I'll go through their discography or whatever you want to call it.
I pointed that out because he was like, "Oh yeah, there's so much inside baseball. You just got to listen to it from the front." I'm like, "Nigga, that's what you told me." Like, listen to it from the beginning. So I'm like, "All right, you're gonna give me all this." So I just
like you could jump in. You could jump in into Cinephobe. You could jump into Cinephobe at like whatever. But if I gave you one episode to listen to for Cinephobe, it was gonna be Bloodsport because I was like, that joke of like, what kind of a deal? You're not gonna call the cops.
That kid was terrible. Like,
It's so bad.
they're showing up on set like lost child. Like seriously. But yeah,
But
you got
I'll go back. I'll go back and listen to some
mhm.
Bodega Boys. It's been a good minute, and it's like it's the art. Did you ever watch their Complex show?
A little bit. A little bit.
Yeah,
Like when they was actually on, what was it, Showtime or Stars? Like that was before I like even knew that they were on TV. And I didn't jump on them until it was just potting. I didn't even know they had a show. So I was just like
yeah.
listening to
So
them
I was put
pod.
on by when I was put on when I was in Boston, and my roommate was listening to them, and
Mhm.
this was like when they were just like a web show on Complex on YouTube,
Yeah.
and I think they had the pod on the side. But then, like, eventually, as they got more famous, they eventually like worked their way up through the not complex, but Vice is when they had
Nice.
the
Yeah.
TV show on Showtime and things of that nature. But yeah, man, they've been doing it, and they still doing it. I follow Mero's channel on
Yeah, I do too.
his
Victory Leg.
independent,
That shit is funny. Yeah.
and then Jesus, like he's still around, not as I guess much as you may see Miro. I guess it depends on like what kind of circles you're in that you follow.
hmm
But like I know Jesus, he'll be like the guest host on the Daily Show sometimes, every now and then. So it's good that they're doing great independently. One day, we'll get the art back
Yeah.
together. I hope we get the art back together.
That'd be epic.
That'd be that we need that for the culture. We need that
Yeah,
for the
that'd be
culture.
crazy.
Let me get into my Percy's, and it is a Back from the Movies featurette. So, what up, everyone? I just really wanted to play that. It's been a minute, and that's gonna
hmm
be like the official. Like, anytime we got a Back to the Movies segment, we gotta just like, all right, hit the intro on the Backs of the Movies. So, Back from the Movies. I got two movies I want to talk about, and then one show because this is just gonna be a TV movie segment. Two movies that I saw this week. Wolfman. Have you seen that trailer?
I have not.
It's like a little horror movie. I'm pretty sure it's rated R, but it's like it's been remade so many times. It's one of those like universal monster kind of flicks where someone turns
hmm
into a wolf and stuff like that. It's made by Bloomhouse. So, Bloomhouse is kind of like hit him. It's kind of like some of it's good, but like
Yeah.
it's good in a cheesy way. This one is actually pretty decent. The acting wasn't the best at all points, but the creepiness and there were some really cool mechanics as far as just how they depicted the guy going through his transition of becoming like the Wolfman. It was pretty entertaining. It was pretty entertaining. I would say it's a I gave it 2.5 on Letterboxd. So like my score rating with that would probably be a no rush stream.
Yeah.
So like when you see it on streaming, it's like, all right, cool. You like add it to your watch list, but like I wouldn't say you need to I wouldn't say you need to watch it day one when it pops up
hmm
on streamers, but just be like, all right, like yeah, I heard some stuff about this. I heard it's pretty decent. I'll check it out. I'll check it out. One of the guys looks like Mark Ruffalo in it, and I'm like, but it's not. But he does a pretty good job.
Yeah. I'd say I've seen the Benicio del Toro Wolfman, but that's the only one I've seen. I like that one when he has that
I
whole
listened
transition
to
in front of the like medical like people, and he's like strapped to the table. That was like a really cool one. He starts killing everybody.
I haven't seen that one, but I listened to one of my podcasts that I listen to now playing. They did a movie review of that. I think that came out like 2016 or something like that, or like
Mhm.
2010. It's so I haven't seen it, but I heard them talk about it, and they were like, "It's actually a pretty good. That one's actually a pretty good movie too." So I enjoyed this one. It wasn't like the best, but it was pretty entertaining, and it was some good
Yeah.
visuals. And I think the down parts on it were some of the acting, and the story was parts of the story were just flat at best. But
All right.
there was nothing that was terrible. It was more so flat.
Very quick follow up to that. What creature would you want to turn into? Like metamorphosis do you want to go through? Because I just thought like werewolf, I mean, that's only like a monthly thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or like every 3 weeks, I guess, whenever the full moon comes around. But then you've got like other mystical creatures. I think I would go for like Oh no, The Fly looked awful. I guess I'm trying to think of like movie transformations you would want to go through. Is my question.
Yeah, I'm
That's
thinking like
that.
Animorphs, and if it's like Animorphs, I'm just like, all
Yeah.
right, like I kind of want to be somewhere with water.
Yeah. Okay.
Like,
Okay. That was
what's
just
like
so random.
what is the chillest animal? Like a seal? Seals be
Yeah.
chilling, right?
Yeah. Otters.
Yeah, otters,
I
like an otter, bro. Yeah, I'd be an otter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otter
Otter
just
just
swimming in
cracking
water.
clams all day. But yeah.
Other movie I saw this week. It's probably gonna be. Definitely gonna be nominated for Best Picture of the Year. I think it probably has the best chance of winning for Best Picture of the Year, and I definitely do think this actor is going to win probably Best Actor of the Year. The Brutalist.
Mm-hmm.
Adrian Brody, yeah, Adrian Brody,
Brody.
right?
Yeah.
And it's basically it's 3.5 hours. Yeah, it's 3.5 hours. It's funny. It has an actual 15-minute intermission in it.
I was gonna say.
It's actually well paced. It's a really good movie. It's it's not something that I would recommend for everyone because it's not as it doesn't take like a traditional movie approach where the problems are clear. Like the plot, not the plot, but the like the problem of like, the problem that the character is trying to get through is not very clear. It's kind of, I was telling my mom, it's almost like a documentary, but it's not a documentary because it's about a guy. It takes place from like 1947 to 1962, and then there's like an epilogue that goes to like 1980 that pushes us into the future into 1980. But most of it takes between 1947 and 1962, and it's about this Hungarian Jewish person, Adrian Brody. He immigrates to America while his wife and his niece are still like in Europe during the endings of the war and what. And he's just trying to find his way in America. It's basically like how to make it in America story for immigrants. And again, I think most people, if you gave it to them, they'd be like, this is a long, boring movie, and it really didn't like, I don't understand like what the issues were here. Like I can the problems that he's facing, but like what is the overall, message or story that I'm trying to understand as far as like the plight of this guy's going through. But I do think it's something worth watching. I do think it's a very well acted, very well shot movie. And again, for 3.5 hours is not that badly paced. In my opinion, but this is coming from a cinephile. So like I can say like for the general audience, I'm like, I can see people be like, what? This is boring. How this is such an artsy film. And I'm like, not really. It's just again, it's like the tale of how to make it in America and how this guy, Adrian Brody, his character, he was this architect where he was from, and he was well known back in Europe. And then, when he came to America, it's like you're pretty much homeless. He becomes like addicted to, drinking and doing heroin and things of that nature. He's basically living at homeless shelters and whatnot. And then it's like he has these moments where, good things seem to be coming down his way. Like he seems like, oh, I've met the right people. I've put in the hard work. And then all of a sudden, because of somebody's, short-temperedness, or whatever it may be, it plays an effect on me or everybody else around me. And then it's just kind of seeing the ups and downs of like the American dream is not a linear path. It's it's a big roller coaster of waves of emotions and, feelings and things of that nature. So I don't want to spoil too much, even though it's a 3.5 hour movie, but I will say that is a recommend when you watch it. Like, I think you would like it. I think you would appreciate it. I will say it's a recommend. I gave it 4 stars on Letterboxd, so I would say it's probably I would definitely need like another rewatch just to kind of to possibly pick up on other things that I didn't pick up on the first time watching it through, as I'm just kind of like taking it all in. But that could probably get moved up to like 4.5. Right now, if I had to say, it's definitely up there. It's definitely one of the main contenders for Best Picture. Adrian Brody, I think, wins Best Actor. I think I think he wrapped that shit up. He's winning Best Actor. As far as Best Picture, 2024 wasn't that good of a movie year. If you see my Letterboxd rankings of best movies, The Wild Robot is my favorite movie of the year, and I'm like, I think it deserves to win an Oscar. Is it going to win an Oscar? No, because it's animated. So if I have to pick one, I think The Brutalist is going to win it, but I don't think it's going to be the general crowd pleaser that one might want, like something like Parasite, like that won a couple years or something like that, or what won last year. I can't remember what won last year, but those are the two movies that I watched this week. There's a third one I was trying to check out, which was the SZA and Keke Palmer movie. One of those days. But I need to figure out my scheduling plan on that. You had a thought?
Yeah, I just wanted to immediately, just when I heard Adrian Brody, I was just like, this is what, like, when I think about growing up, when you just hear movies that are like Oscar bait, I hear Adrian Brody and you said 3.5 hours. Immediately, I chuckled when we said Adrian Brody, because I was like, this is a historical film that he's always playing dated, stuff. Yeah, that's like his lane that he's in, like The Pianist and other things of that nature. Because I know he got chopped, so it doesn't surprise me at all, like that he would be up for this. But immediately, I'm like, 3.5 hours, Adrian Brody. I'm like, okay, yeah, y'all just gonna get 6 Oscars? Is that what this is? Like, so I'm like,
it's gonna run through shit.
Yeah, it's just that traditional thought of Oscar bait, I guess.
It is definitely Oscar bait. It is definitely Oscar bait.
And like, I gotta sit here for 3.5 hours and be like, you gotta care, and be like, oh, it's not gonna be explosions and stuff. And it's like, yeah, I can understand a slow burn, slice of life immigrant story.
Yes,
but
that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, I was condensing it in my head as you were describing it. Like, yeah, that's what it is. So it's like, I can understand that, but I'm like, 3.5 hours, bro. Am I about to do that? Come on now.
I got it. When's the next one? And then it's A24. Yeah, I was like, if it's A24, I kind of have to check it out. But that's just the A24 fanboy in me. And the last one is just TV shows. I gotta do another episode rewatch. Severance season 2. Did you watch it? Did you watch it?
I haven't watched it yet. I haven't watched it yet.
There's only one episode. There's only one episode out. They're coming out on a weekly basis, but the first episode, I watched it at like midnight. So again, I gotta do another rewatch probably when I get off. But we back, baby.
Yeah,
we
back. This is the one.
3 years. 3 years. We back.
Yeah. Hey, remember I had a whole bunch of theories. Remember, like, we was really in the chops with this, talking about it, because even just like my whole thought was like the building. There's that episode, I think it was like episode 6 or 7, when he was like exploring the building, and like all of it was all dark, but it's like, those automated lights, as you walk, the lights turn on.
Yeah. And they had like the goats.
And my thought was like, and he found his wife back there, or the woman that he didn't know that it's his wife. Yeah, but it was like, oh, maybe like this building is like representative of like their brain, in a sense. Like, as he's walking through, he's unlocking more and more memories. It's just like a physical representation of like him like actually digging in the weeds and trying to get like his other personality back, his outside self, and connect the dots from the inside. So yeah, that was my crazy ass theory. So I'm like, I'm back for this. I'm ready for this. I'm about to watch it. Yeah, right when we get off.
Sure. I'm so happy that Severance is back. Now, I don't want them to keep taking 3 years to come up with a season, but I'll give them a pass because we had a pandemic, writer strikes. There was I think there was also like things wrong with like the script and things that having to get right and everything of that nature, but season 2 is finally here. I can't wait to jam through it. The first episode was dope. I need another rewatch. I can't wait. I've spent enough time. You got any more thoughts on Severance or any of the from the movies? Let's start the fucking show.
Doors opening. Step back to allow customers to exit.
Through the crowd. It's the Habasha Hayes Stevenson. You're my tag team partner.
The French fried fro, booty coming off the top rope. This is the Wrestling Rio podcast.
A weekly stroll through the avenue of wrestling.
Their socials, Instagram, not TikTok anymore, but Twitch and YouTube, all at the Wrestling Rhea. No hyphen.
What up, everyone? Episode 28 of the Wrestling Rhea podcast. Samson, I was Shay Hayes, here with my tag team partner, the French Fry Fro Moody, and we are here to talk another week of wrestling. And we got a pretty decent schedule, pretty decent amount of topics on our calendar. Pretty interesting shows going on. We got some debuts, some returns, and all of this is kind of just building up, and some major announcements, outside of the wrestling ring that is eventually going to leak into the wrestling ring. But all of this to lead us up to what we got: Saturday night's main event next week. There is a TNA show tonight, TNA Genesis.
Yep. Genesis.
With, spoiler alert for future episode, with NXT going to be on there because now they're promoting that because they're in partnership. And, next week we got the Royal Rumble. Or 2 weeks from now, I guess, because the Royal Rumble's in February now because we want to just be terrible people. But let's get into the show, and let's start off. We could walk straight into the flagship store of Monday Night Raw.
Absolutely. And
I'm pretty sure the biggest thing on this show for us, we have this listed as primo. Penta's debut on Raw and
sure.
WWE. Now, has he been in WWE before and wasn't just used, or?
No, he's never been to WWE. He's never been signed by them.
So,
but yeah, this was absolutely the best thing that happened this entire week, for sure, was Penta's debut. For me personally, just his presentation, like, this is what I was waiting for AEW to do. You know what I'm saying? When it's like, this guy is so charismatic, and just his entrance, it literally sent me down a debut, like, rewatch rabbit hole. I watched his debut, just his entrance, at least 5 times last night.
Yeah. I mean, this is where I can understand like AEW fans or anybody else in the world just being like pissed off at like a WWE fan. You'd be like, what are you guys talking about? Because I've heard this argument, and I was like, what are you guys talking about? It's like the same thing. We've seen this he had similar entrance at AEW and with the fire and all that. I don't know what to tell you. I was watching the WWE playlist last night of like epic entrances, and the way they shot it was amazing. Yeah, like with the mask and everything. And I'm like, man, this dude is it finally feels like when he was coming out, it felt like we were finally pushing into a new era of luchador wrestling, at least on the WWE side. Because everyone there's a few people on the roster, that wear masks, right? But obviously no one has been able to surpass Rey Mysterio. I think this dude might be able to do that. As far as not as like as legacy, but as far as just like taking the baton and being like, hey, I'm the main luchador now, of WWE. Because the entrance was dope. The ring work was dope against with him and Chad Gable, and it's Chad Gable, so it's gonna be fire. Obviously, it wasn't always the cleanest. There were some spots where could have been a little bit cleaner, but first match looked really great. Afterwards, he cut a little promo, both in English and Spanish. Apparently, some people were possibly pissed off backstage because it caused them to cut time on the show, but apparently that's not the case. I don't know what's true. Overall, I really enjoyed the debut. I thought it worked really well. You did it in an area where, San Jose, they were very familiar with him. And so, yeah, they knocked that out the park with the Penta debut this week. And I'm hoping that this is not just a one-off and it's actually like something where, again, there's how many luchadors does WWE have that's not Rey Mysterio? Like that wear mask. Yeah.
Dragon Lee. And
yeah, 2 guys on there's somebody on Legado del Fantasma.
Well, Andrade does sometimes, but that's just for like his entrance. That's all he would.
He's not Legado.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, no, he's not.
they have a couple other people on the roster that I feel like.
Santos would wear one for his entrance also, but
No, but there's a
obviously
tag team. There's a tag team.
oh man,
I forget.
exactly. They're not presented to us well because we're not even remembering them.
They keep running back on Rey Mysterio, and it's just like, man, you don't even need a mask. I'm just saying there needs to be a baton passed at some point, and just from an appearance and how he came out and how he looked, like pretty dope. Like it was different. You know what I'm saying? I was a fan of it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of it in the near and then long term future. I'm hoping it works out where he just doesn't just get relegated to just being a eternal mid carder.
Yeah, I mean, you already took the words out of my mouth with that because that's what the fear is, right? Is that you have this like awesome luchador, and then he gets shuffled into Mexican or south of the border division, basically, LWO and Santos Escobar's group. So, but yeah, the charisma immediately, obviously, I can see IC champion. I mean, I'm not taking it off a Braun Breaker or anything, but I want to have a story. That's the thing. Is like, can we have a luchador have a story? Like, it shouldn't just because you wear a mask shouldn't mean that you lose like all nuance to your character other than high flying and stuff like that, because that's what it traditionally seems to happen. So yeah, just hopefully they can take this football and absolutely run with it. But of course the debut couldn't have been better.
Even when he cut his promo in Spanish, like they had I don't think they had it live because I don't think they knew that he was gonna cut his promo like that. But I think afterwards they captioned it.
Okay. Yeah, I need to go back and rewatch that then. But I like how Cole, he really put it over that how well traveled he was. And like this literally is his last stop. Like he's won like literally everywhere. He was he's the best part of Lucha Underground. You know what I'm saying? Like that ridiculous like soap opera clip that you put up like a few weeks ago. That's from Lucha Underground. He was like a 3-time champion there. CMLL, AAA, New Japan, AEW, TNA already.
Yeah.
Championships everywhere. So this is literally his last stop. And I thought that the promo was absolutely amazing. His daughters were like full on in tears. And I was just like, oh, that's such a heartwarming, like, it felt like almost, you'll appreciate this, but Kobe, like girl dad moment, like with just all those women rooting for him, like in tears. And I was like, that's so awesome. So yeah, it was super dope. I hopefully nothing but the, shoot to the moon for stock on Penta and WWE.
Who do you think his first rivalry is or feud is? It could be Chad Gable, but I'd rather not. Like I feel like the Chad Gable was just, for story wise, like Chad was, kind of asking for something, and that's how they kind of got, Penta in it. But I don't think that's the feud.
Yeah, no, that was just a be careful what you wish for. And that's why Adam Pearce was smirking last week. He was like, okay, I got somebody for you. So, but I'd have like, since I'm already in my head slotting him in IC area, I don't want to do Sheamus. Who else is right there? Sheamus and Kaiser. Slightly below. Nah, let's do. I like Jay. I like Jay because just off of like obviously he was working face in that match against Chad Gable because we know he's like a heel as a character, but his presentation, obviously, just looking at him, he's also the most terrifying luchador you've ever seen. Like, one of his signature moves is called the sacrifice, which is that arm break spot, that hammerlock arm break.
Yeah.
And it's like, yo, imagine him snapping Jay's like main event Jay. Like that would be dope. Like that would also really cement his flag as like, okay, he's in the mix right here. Like that's not Jay is already pushing himself towards the world heavyweight championship. Like we just had this promo, we'll get into it soon with Gunther and everything. But yeah, if I could just in a vacuum just have a rivalry like outside of all other stories, I'd probably pick Jay right now.
I could see Jay is just that's right now that would be face versus face. Now I would not mind Penta being a heel because again,
That's what I'm saying.
we keep getting these luchadors and it's like we're trying to sell mask and it's like we got to make them a face and it's like, can we just have like a heel luchador?
Yeah.
Like, does he have to be
exactly
a face? But I mean, if he was to be a face, Finn Balor is not bad. I can see Dominic Mysterio.
Oh yeah, Dominic.
Raw's a little hard. If it was on SmackDown, I'm like, give me like Carmelo Hayes.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be dope. Like
he's on his
he
would slide.
He would slide in. He would slide in perfectly in the U.S. Championship area.
Oh, for sure.
On SmackDown, if he was on SmackDown, because having to go against like L.A. Knight, Andrade, Carmelo Hayes, Shinsuke, that like those are more. I almost wish he was on SmackDown just by saying that. I'm having a hard time of like, is there anything equivalent on that on Raw that I could figure out? But I'm blanking it out. I'm blanking right now on who would be good. But Finn and Dominic would be good. I think Jay would be a good one as well. Braun Breaker, I think would be interesting.
I think right now, I think you could right now do a like backstage face off between them right now, and like obviously that match isn't going to happen for like 2 months or whatever. But just
between
give
him
us
and Braun Breaker.
Yeah, between him and Braun Breaker, just have like Braun can get interviewed or something, or have him being interviewed, and then just somebody walks into the shot. You know how they do it. Just give us that visual, and it's like, oh yeah, just have make sure you got the IC championship right in the shot, right on the shoulder.
Okay. Any thoughts? Any more other thoughts on Penta's debut?
Nah.
Expectations.
It was great.
Royal Rumble entrant.
Sure. Yeah. Might as well.
Pick a number.
17.
10.
Yeah.
These numbers don't matter. We're just picking numbers.
No. No. Yeah, I was just thinking Price is Right, like closest without going over. 17 is the first one that came to my head.
Let's get to the other primo. I think we're taking. Are we talking about the same thing?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
But really for me, it wasn't about the match. This was a great, hopefully, blow off between Finn Balor and Damian Priest, the street fight with Damian Priest obviously going over. But I have it as, are we done now? Like with the Judgment Day? Like, I don't mean
the Judgment Day. I thought when I saw JD, I thought you meant JD McDonough.
I figured you would know, so I was like, he'll figure it out. But no, it's absolutely nothing against JD McDonough. It's just this specific. I was actually hammering them two together because Judgment Day also has Liv, so that whole Liv and Rhea thing. I'm like, are we done with both of these? Are we done? We're good.
Yeah.
We're to WrestleMania. We got the titles. Everything's settled. Cool. So that's really what more so that was about. But I'm glad Damian goes over, and I think he could. This is I don't know how far because anybody can be in the Royal Rumble, obviously. So that wouldn't surprise me at all. But where do you see him going now that this is done? Because he's already been a world heavyweight champion, right? Right now, he's got to be in the back of the line because he's been settling this whole Finn Balor shit. Jay is obviously squaring up to Gunther right now. Is he going to get like another push for the title?
Yeah,
that's where I'm trying to see.
I definitely do think because by all accounts, whoever wins the Rumble is going after Cody. So that leaves a whole Monday Night Raw an opportunity to be like, who's going to challenge Gunther? The next pay-per-view, PLE, is Elimination Chamber. So why can't you have Damian Priest and Jey Uso and Finn Balor for whatever reason, and you need what, 2 more people? Because that's already
Drew?
4 people. And maybe,
I don't know if I want to put Drew in there.
Drew, again, that's more heavyweight. That's more undisputed championship. But I do think Priest, Finn, Jay, Gunther, that's 4. And Elimination Chamber has what, 4 pods?
6.
And then you start 2. So we need 2 more people to fill into that role.
Ludwig? I'd like that. that's just interesting match mechanics.
It could be. It seems like he's in the Intercontinental spot right now.
He is for sure because he just had this match with Sheamus, but that's meant for like Gunther to have backup in there. You know, that just tilts it in his favor a little bit more.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe Penta.
Yeah, Penta. There you go. There you go. That'll be it. That whole match is going to be a spot fest anyway. So everybody just hitting moves.
But yeah, I mean, I'm saying with you, like the match itself was great. You know, it's funny, especially now again having Netflix without the ads, you know, and then so by having Netflix without ads means I don't have any commercial breaks when I watch Raw. These matches all feel super long because I have no context of like, oh yeah, we're all commercial break. And I'm like, every time I look up, it's just wrestling. It's wrestling. So I'm like, oh, okay. This is a long ass match. So it went well. Obviously it had its shenanigans, but you know, the right thing happened. Damian Priest won. I'm like you. We've been saying this. It's just like, please be done with this. Like, at least for Rhea and Damian, just be done with it. Let Judgment Day figure out their own shit, whether it be interfeuding between themselves or picking on somebody else new. But I need y'all to put on a new fresh paint of coat on. You know, like you've updated your music. I need something a little bit fresher. Because it's a little bit too much of the same that we've been seeing with them. One thing I was curious about is they updated the announce table.
I've noticed,
yeah, it's reinforced. So if you look at the edge of it, there's actually like it looks like actually hard casing plastic around it. So I'm like, are these tables and it's lit too. Like the bottom of it and the sides, like there's actual like lights on it. So I'm like, that announce table is not going to break.
Yeah.
Like, what are we going to do? Like, is it just going to be the Spanish announce table now?
The one that breaks all the time, you mean?
Yeah. At least on Raw. At least on Raw, because I think SmackDown and NXT, they had their table break, so that's fine. SmackDown, I don't think they've updated their table.
Yeah,
I think the only eye out for that. That's fine. I think the only updated table is for Raw, and I'm like, if that's the case, that's disappointing that we're not going to have it's a clear announced table break. They're going to have to pull out one of those paper mache tables, but
the padding underneath and everything. Yeah.
But I was curious about that. Another thing about this was that this was the last match of the show. Raw was 2.5 hours this week. Raw finished at 10:30.
Yeah, do you like it or the flexibility of it?
That was cool. I like it. It's cool because again, I think somebody brought it up where it's just, you know, it's 10:56, time to go home, right? No one expected the match. No one expected the show to finish at 10:30.
Yeah.
So
that's like, oh yeah, nothing extra.
Yeah, how could you predict it? I even watching this match, I was like, man, this is a long ass match. It almost felt like it was the main event. And then the show went off the air. I was like, what? And I looked at the clock. It was at 10:33. I was like, what?
Well, that's cool if anything, because it gives us that level of unpredictability. So that's cool, like that we have like a 35 minute swing that it's like, oh, it's 10:42 next time, or
sometimes it might be 10:20. Not 10:20. It might be 11:20. Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting.
I thought it was interesting. Maybe it might be 10:45. I don't care. I just like that flexibility. I also am curious to see. I'm just curious to see how it just plays out in the future. You know what I'm saying? Especially because what I do like about it, sometimes with 3 hours, you're forced to fill in those 3 hours, right? But if you're just putting in, it's like, what makes a good show? Like, make it a good show. I think Triple H said it prior to, because it was talked about before the Netflix premiere, where the timing of Raw was going to be flexible. And it was going to be similar. I think he compared it to like Disney shows. right? Or shows that are streaming, like The Bear, right? The Bear, the episodes are 35 minutes, sometimes 45 minutes, like
42 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that whole one cut when they're going through the entire kitchen in season 1. That was a 20-minute episode. That's like the shortest episode they've had all season. And then they have episodes that are like 55 minutes long, you know? So I like the fact that you're looking at it as an episode as far as like, what is the best story that we could tell? What is the best show that we could put on that we feel is cohesive rather than just, you might have a cohesive show, but because you have to fill this extra 30 minutes, let's throw in 5 other segments that are clearly just filler. So I think it's gonna work out. Now I hope, like, you know, I hope they don't push it to the point where it's like we get in like 2-hour. I mean, we can get a 2-hour episode, but I don't know. You think they ever give us like a 30-minute episode and just be like,
no, that's not. I mean, if they did that, that would be like, it would have to be like some type of special, like, I don't know, like like they do a cinematic, like maybe they do a whole cinematic episode and it's like an hour and a half, like the Boneyard match. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. That's just a random thought, but that would be cool though. That would be, I don't know, a knuckleball. I'm just trying to think what's the most unpredictable baseball pitch, you know?
Yeah, they won't do 30 minutes, but I do like the flexibility and just looking at how can we make the most cohesive episode rather than, you know, how do we just fill in 3 hours? Because 3 hours is exhausting a lot of the times, especially if you just feel like, hey, it is the dog days of summer. We need 3-hour episodes in the dog days of summer. I don't think so, but let's get into some of these mids. I think these are all good mids. The one that we do agree on, I have 2 more mids than you do. Lyra Valkyria becoming the first women's Intercontinental Champion, defeating Dakota Kai. Mid rising. I think we both have this mid because as soon as we saw the bracket like over a month ago, we were like, oh, okay.
We know like, this is Lyra's to win. Yeah. And it was
it's Lyra's to win.
That's why it was mid for me and not primo, because honestly, the way that both the tournament brackets went, I mean, hate to say like predictability, but you know what I'm saying? As like nuanced week to week fans, shit we know. So it's like, or you can feel like the organic push, you know, for people like as you're watching it. So I did feel like, I mean, as I was watching the match, I felt like it could definitely go either way. But I mean, I made that pick of Lyra when we first saw the bracket. So that's also why I was just in mid, where I'm like, okay. But the match itself was great. This was almost champion of the week for me. I was trying to figure out the champion for that fucking brain buster that Lyra gave to Dakota on the outside. I was like, oh shit, like off the apron to the outside. It was a sickening thud. Like the whole crowd was like, oh shit, I was one of them. So that was a highlight for me for sure. Dakota, I feel like, I mean, this isn't the end for her. Like now that we actually have these divisions, it's good because like, as I was mentioning before, you don't need to have necessarily your heavyweight champion or your women's champion on every single week. I mean, they're champions. They have the right to like, I don't know, take a week off or so. So it's like, you have these other chances like women's United States or Intercontinental champion. And then that gives us the opportunity to focus on more so on the tag teams of it too. Give us some tag team stories. So hopefully they start doing that some more. Because also, you know, absence makes the heart grow fonder. It's just as simple as that. After, you know, Drew and CM Punk went through that Hell in a Cell match, we saw CM Punk the next week just because he was like, oh, I'm banged up or no, we didn't see them that next week. CM Punk came out like 2 weeks later and was like, I'm banged up. I'm going to sit out for a bit, basically. And then we hadn't seen Drew up until like 3 weeks ago.
Last month. Yeah,
last month. So it's good. It's good to just take a break sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much reiterate everything that you said for the most part. It was pretty predictable as soon as we saw the brackets that Lyra was going to win. I will push back a little bit where I believed Michin having more of a chance of beating Chelsea Green than I did Dakota beating Lyra. And I think that's the issue that I kind of have with not only just the women's bracket, not even just the women's intercontinental. I think that's the difference that I feel that I have between the intercontinental championships, both men and women, versus the United States Championship, men and women. I think for me, the intercontinental champions, I don't dislike either one of them, of Braun Breaker or Lyra Valkyria. I don't have much emotional equity to either one of them. And I feel the belt is doing more to lift them up than them lifting up the belt. Right? The belt for me, for Lyra to have the belt, it almost makes me like, again, you want me to believe that she is going to be the next person in line in the long term, right? Same thing with Braun Breaker. You want me to be like, okay, yeah, be on the lookout for this guy. This guy is the future. The United States champion is not that. The United States champion is, hey, we want LA Knight to be US champion. Hey, we want Shinsuke to be a champion. Hey, we want Chelsea Green to be a champion. Chelsea Green and Michin, that's a win-win on either side. I rather have had Dakota Kai have win this because, again, I have more emotional equity with her. Yeah. We've known Dakota Kai. She's a better talker. Again, I don't want to see Lyra come out here and not talk. So I do. That's the biggest problem I have so far. It's not even a problem. It's just like, a gripe. The Intercontinental Championship just seems more to make me believe in the person rather than the belt is doing more lifting of the character than the character is lifting the belt. To put it lightly, that's the issue that I kind of have with it. Yeah. And so if they just let her, like, again, what has Braun Breaker been doing? Just sitting in the stands. He really hasn't wrestled in a few weeks. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Right now, if I had to pick between, again, both men and women side, U.S. Intercontinental, I'm choosing the U.S. side on any day. The U.S. side is way more interesting.
Yeah.
Both men and women. That. So that's my issue with it is that, yeah, it's almost being like I'm supposed to believe who this person is rather than, yeah, this person is good because they got there. If that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. No, I got you. It definitely makes sense. Obviously, I think it's just a case-by-case basis. I mean, it's because it's based on the wrestler, right? I would say at this point in time, I mean, Braun, he's a 2-time Intercontinental champion now. So I do agree that his, like, because he doesn't have enough of a nuanced character right now. It's just like you said, kind of, we just know that he's a badass and he'll just spear the shit out of you, which is fine right now.
And he's legacy.
But yeah, and he's legacy. But which I like the point that he resists that. He's had multiple promos about how he doesn't use his name. You know what I'm saying? He stands on his own. So obviously he feels like a little bit more established, but like, yeah, you need to give me something I can sink my teeth into. And really that whole between him and Jay, that was like the closest thing, really. Yeah. Like Jay getting that surprise win and all that type of shit. So it was like, oh wow. And then I think Lyra, obviously she's a newbie, so can't really help it. And it's a new title. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, we know that she's kind of taken the place. Well, we remember, I was about to say Tatum Paxley, Tegan Knox, another one of Triple H's projects. Lyra's like one of his, you know what I'm saying? Which we can say for a lot of people nowadays, honestly. But this is just him cementing her, like, hey, yeah, like you said, just keep your eyes on her. Like, she's cool, y'all. You know what I'm saying?
Does she need the belt to do that? Like, I mean, that's my issue.
I think she does. I think right now she does. Because, like, outside of, like, she hasn't done anything impactful outside of making the Queen of the Ring finals and then getting annihilated by Nia Jax, the best one ever. So if that's the only memory we have of her, it's like, we know that she can wrestle because she made it that far. But what else has she been doing? She's been in the back. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least Braun Breaker, I'll, defend my own point. Braun Breaker is a 2-time champion. He can take a few weeks off if he wants to, because we got, and like in shoot, we have other people that we need to get on TV and like storylines we need to get over and stuff, and Lyra can be one of those. And hopefully this means that she's getting more TV time and like will establishes legacy. Basically, we just had Kaylani Jordan. She just established the first reign with the North American title down in NXT, and she got better that entire time. I became more of a fan of Kaylani throughout her run. So
yeah, that's fair.
So I would argue it's the same thing with Lyra. That's what they're hoping for.
I think it's more so it's what you do from here on out. You can't just let her just have the belt and treat her like you can't have her have the belt and then treat them like how Katana Chance and Kaden Carter had the belts.
Yeah.
Whereas they're women's tag team champions, but they never talk.
Yeah. You just see them backstage watching the big TV for the match that's happening outside, in the ring.
I'm like, okay, now talk, cut a promo. Because they've done this past year, it's like you make your debut, you get a rub from Becky Lynch, you get put into the women's Queen of the Ring, you get to the finals, and then after that, it all disappeared. As soon as Becky left, it all disappeared.
Yeah.
In my opinion, again. And then again, you're just coming out of nowhere, helping us. That's where again, just now we got to get into character.
Yeah.
I don't even know what her character is.
We got to know who she is. Yeah.
So that's where it's like the belt is doing a lot of lifting. And then obviously we know Triple H is like, hey, I really believe in you. So, and again, it's not to doubt her skills. It's just we haven't seen it on TV.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I'm asking for. Let's hurry up. We're spending a little too much time on Raw. My fault. I also had Sheamus over Ludwig.
This is Shake. Not anything. Just because I think it's the next chapter. You know what I'm saying? They're not done with each other. And this is really all about, the IC title, them positioning themselves. So really it's just, who do you have being the next? Sheamus? Sheamus is next IC champion?
I would like so.
Okay, hopefully we're leading there. If that is the case, then I'd be willing to move this up to like a mid-stable. But I think Ludwig is so charismatic that I think to give him the title would be too much of a nuanced swerve for us, because I would also want Sheamus to win it next, because we know that's been his story for the last year or 2 years actually. So to keep it away from him even more so, I wouldn't be. I'd be upset. I'll just say that.
That's the reason I have this in my mids, is because we know where Sheamus and Ludwig are at in their careers, if we're talking shoot. And I'm like, I want Sheamus to get the goddamn Grand Slam.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want him to just come back and just be taking L's to these young guys. You know what I'm saying? So Ludwig, I would be a little bit more happier if Sheamus gets the IC title and then Ludwig eventually gets it off of him.
Yeah. Keep it
rather than Ludwig just jumping Sheamus. I'm like, what is Sheamus then at that point? Come on now, we're not going to be disrespecting Sheamus here. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
This is a Hall of Famer. This dude's a two-time world champion. He's done it all. So that's where it's, hey, just because someone is in their 40s don't mean they can't take out the young pups out here. Ludwig is still wet behind the ears compared to Sheamus.
Say, tell that to PCO and TNA. That man 54. still whooping ass. For the other one, your other mid, I would also have this as Shake. Not to say that the promo wasn't good, but I just felt like this was, filler in the sense of the world championship, just keeping us story note, basically. All right, Jay and Gunther is coming, because nothing really happened here other than Jay saying I'm gonna beat you, and then Gunther's like, nah, you tripping. So
I mean, I would say they're set up to fight for Jay is set up to have an opportunity to win the championship against Gunther at Saturday night's main event. Jay's also in the Royal Rumble, so basically chalk up the L.
It's funny to think about that, because it's I forget who I was listening to, probably one of ours, that were either Kick Rocks or something, but just talking about how AEW so commonly will be like, oh, Grand Slam is in 2 weeks from now, but you got like the women's title on the line tonight, and you're already promoting that it's now. I was like, from a fan point, I guess you can be like, hey, we're just management here. Like, this is the champion now, so you would promote that, but also, like, as smart fans, we're like, dog, what are you doing? That's like, keep it open ended so we can at least have a tiny bit of mystery, maybe. But yeah, chalk up an L for Jay.
I have this in probably mid stable, maybe leaning towards mid rising, more so for the Jey Uso side of the promo than the Gunther. Gunther is just doing the same Gunther, like, you're bummed, you've done, like, you're not on my level type of whatever. All right, it's not that nuanced of an argument from Gunther. Jay at the same level too. You could say he's saying the same thing as he's always said, as far as like trying to make it on his own, though it works within what he was saying. And so again, I could be a tag team partner. I couldn't do this, that, and the third. And he's still trying to make it out for himself. That again, Jay, I think, can sometimes be a little overly emotional. Like sometimes he's like crying on the microphone, and I'm like, bro, something up. Like,
yeah. Like Cody, anytime he talks about his dad, that first 6 months that he was back.
I think the Jey Uso side of the promo, I'm like, all right, like let's see how this goes. Let's see how this goes. Even though we know he's not going to win, it's more so I'm here for it to see it. How many times do you think Jey Uso can kind of run that promo and not win a championship?
Well, he hasn't challenged. Well, he's only challenged for it once before, right? I mean, Roman. He challenged Roman once, so he hasn't been in the World Heavyweight Championship picture or that main title picture for an extended period of time. But
I guess it's more of the argument. At some point, that argument's got to turn into desperation. You can't just be like, oh man, like everybody told me I could only be a tag team partner. I need to go make it on my own. At some point, like if you keep losing, that has to turn into desperation.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I see you.
So that's my argument. Like it's we know he's probably going to lose this, but because we said what was Elimination Chamber? Priest, Finn, Gunther.
Yeah.
Did we say Jay?
Priest, Jay. We threw in Penta, and I said Ludwig because really the Elimination Chamber isn't the title match anymore. It used to be. The title used to be on the line, but now it's like the number one contender match. So it'll be everybody except for Gunther.
Maybe even Gunther. Maybe Gunther's not even in it. So
yeah,
interesting to see. I said I think the Jey Uso side of this promo was the thing that kind of gave me more. Gave it the mid aspect of it rather than leaving it in shake, because like to your point, it was kind of typical of what each of them pretty much say on a regular basis. There's nothing out of anything that ordinary. The last thing that I wanted to speak on Raw was maybe a triple threat for Rhea's title.
Yeah.
Nah, it seems like she's moved over to Raw. And then she had a conversation where it was Rhea, Nia, and who's the third? I'm blanking on the third.
Bayley came out.
Was it Bayley?
Bayley got a nice long look at that title.
So Bayley was on Raw, SmackDown, and NXT? I gotta check that.
She was. Yeah, she was.
I gotta check that, because I could have sworn it was somebody else. Oh, we also got Drew, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins all saying that they were going to be in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, everybody just started declaring this week. This is I guess what is it? That last year of our senior week in high school when they start putting the hats on. It's just all say Royal Rumble on them. You would think that the women you would have a few women start declaring too. Then
it was Bayley.
Yeah,
you haven't had any women declare for the Royal Rumble.
There is a women's Royal Rumble, or there better be.
There will be. But yeah, okay. Well, it seems like Bayley's getting a lot of work, but I guess they were in California. You know, she's
Yeah,
from
yeah.
San
Hometown,
Jose.
San Jose. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anything else from Raw flagship?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
All right, that's
It's that Raw is well done, right on the hour mark. Well done, folks.
All right, let's go walk into the bodega. NXT. NXT. And you were hired
Man,
on certain things.
yeah. The most important thing that happened on this show is my man Ashanti, the Adonis, getting his woman. Getting his woman. They are going steady. You know, I love a romance. I love romance in wrestling. Like, I love that soap opera shit. And if you will remember, as I pointed out, he had been applying pressure, bro. Like, he had to prove like he was really a stand-up type guy when Homeboy bumped into her backstage. Had to prove that they had chemistry when they were in the ring. I forget what homie's name was. I think Malik Blade. I can't remember, but they had that intergender match. But Ashanti, he basically popped the question, like real shit, and brought a rose up to her backstage. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Carmen Petrovic. I'm like, hey, you know we go together, right? And she's like, really? And it's like, yeah, girl, like, get your man. That's the primo of the show for me. And I know it's less because that's literally just a backstage 2-minute segment. So it's like, but I don't care. That's what I want to see. This is where I'm talking about. Like, we need to have this with Montez and Bianca. I like power couples. Give me power couples in wrestling. We need to address it. Like, come on now. But when we talk about actual wrestling,
I'm gonna clip this up and send this to Dr. Umar, and you will be getting
man, whatever, yo.
Dr. Umar, he ain't a real doctor.
Yeah, he's an honorary. But what we do or not agree on, but the best wrestling, arguably, Praxium versus OTM. Well, that's why it's in primo for me. The best wrestling of the episode for sure. Once again, continuation of just prime athleticism of Praxium. And honestly, the most I've cared about OTM also. Like, because I actually believed it, like going through, because granted, it's not like Praxium hasn't beat bigger guys. They're always the smaller guys. So it's not really a surprise that they won. But if anything, maybe this just goes to the selling of Axiom, even though he has no facial features. That, at least he can scream and we know he's in pain. But he took like a vicious like backbreaker. I wish, this is where I ain't gonna lie. We both need to do more research on it, but getting every single wrestler's name down so we don't just gotta say OTM guy won, OTM like everybody. But
it's like Nima Blanco and I forget the other guy's name.
Yeah, Fraxium retained.
Yeah,
and man, like who's
Bronco Nima like, and Lucian Price.
I shouldn't remember Lucian. Lucian is the one that has the black contacts in, so I'll be remembering him. It's like he's possessed, you know, like when their eyes go all black. Yeah, it's weird. I was like, it works for him as them just being like street guys or whatever. They're basically, I think, non-comedy crime time. That's what they are.
Okay. I can see, babe. You would say like maybe just bigger Street Profits.
Street Profits are so for the people, though. They're very for the people, and they always have been. Like they just were like they just wanted to party. It felt like, you know, they were dropping solo cups and stuff. So that's where they would feel different. At least NXT specifically.
Okay. No, yeah, I had this my mid rising. Mostly because I'm like, okay, like, how long is Fraxium going to be here?
Yeah.
So, like, it's not their fault. Like, the match itself, like, I don't blame you. It's definitely probably a primo on that side. I agree with you. OTM, I'm like, hey, you look good in this. You look good on this. I could definitely see tag team champions in your near future, OTM. And I think it'd be nice to kind of go from that switch up where you have these two smaller guys to now the tag team title is on these two big ass monsters. And so, you know, it just kind of switches up the dynamic of what people have to go through the tag team division now. You know, first with Fraxium, it's like you got to be kind of multifaceted in a certain way. Then you take OCM, it's like if they got the belts, it's like, are they just the APA at this point?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Just like whooping ass and taking names.
Yeah.
So they look good. They sold good. They sold well. And yeah, it just I think we've talked about it, with because they're with Jada Parker as well. That like right now, Jada Parker is basically putting the team on her back
Yeah.
as far as that faction goes. This actually, it's like, okay, I can see tag team titles in your near future for OTM. So shout out to them. I'm curious to see what comes out for them in the next few weeks. Maybe they might win the titles at Vengeance Day.
Yeah, maybe so. Do you have any more on them?
That was my thoughts on them.
Yeah. Where we do agree, the Meta Girls
Yeah,
getting a
Number
W
one
over
contenders.
Unholy Union. Yep.
number one contenders. I think they
I
might
like
pull it off too. I think they might pull it off.
I like it. I mean, they've been bubbling for a while. They've already come up to SmackDown. Not to say that they're going to be pushed up, but yeah, I think they can win the tag team titles for sure.
And those belts are the women's tag team title belts are defended across all three brands.
Yeah,
So
they're floating titles.
They don't necessarily need to leave NXT for it. They'll just they can like the things that we kind of complained about with Braun Breaker and some of these people where they just kind of sit in the stands. That actually works for the women's tag team titles because you don't necessarily need to wrestle if you're mainly going to be on NXT. You know what I'm saying? You could pop on Raw, you can pop on SmackDown, or people can come to your house. So I definitely do think we might be coming along the lines where, again, Bianca spent the last year basically on pause.
Absolutely.
If we're shooting, she's got to get back into the world title picture.
Mm-hmm. That's a short reign for Naomi, dog. Like, how long is that reign for Naomi if they lose? Like a month? Like how long has Jade been out? Month and a half?
About like 2 months. So it's like November. Because it was before it was before Survivor. It was before War Games.
All right. Yeah, Jade got taken out before then, but Naomi didn't officially step in until like 2 or 3 weeks later after that. Which they I think, if I remember correctly. So I'm just like, that sucks, but
beginning of December, sure.
Yeah, but
hey, I mean,
that's a whole lot of black queens.
She held the tag team title. She held the tag team titles. It's again, it's
gonna do
I think we find out what happened to Jade's. I think we're gonna get back into the Jade storyline sooner.
Oh man,
it's either gonna be I gave you 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
It was Bayley, Naomi, or Charlotte. Right now, I think it might be Naomi.
Yeah. Yeah, she got to see who whooped her ass. You can't just show up and be like, "Oh, I'm fine, guys." Like, come on, we got to figure it out. So, your other mids that you had.
Yeah, Shotzi beating Stephanie Vaquer. It wasn't clean, Stephanie, got protected. She got hit by the title belt, they ended up getting the win. But Shotzi, hey, you get it how you get it. It's not like you asked for it. It was you didn't even know what happened, work wise. You didn't even know what happened. So hey, number 1 contender for the North American Championship. I'm just glad that like Shotzi won.
I should have put this in mid or typed it in, but yeah, it's mid rising for sure because she's one of those grinders. Also, if I remember correctly, I feel like she was in the US title tournament, or she should have been for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's been one of those that I enjoyed her back in NXT on her first run because she never even held the title or anything. But like, just her character was so over, and coming out with that fucking battle tank was just sick. Everybody misses the tank. Bring the tank out, Shotzi. So yeah, she's moving on up. Challenges Fallon Henley next up. So,
and I don't think she wins, but I'm just glad that like, again, you look at that matchup, you're like, okay, Stephanie. We get it. Yeah. We get it. Yeah. Like sometimes it's like we get it, WWE. You want somebody to move up, and it's like, but you don't have to be so blatant about it. That's the only thing. There could be some intrigue behind it. So again, I like that Shotzi got the win. I'm a fan of her, and hey, she got the win.
Yeah, it's a nice building block, if anything, like, or a nice like mini swerve to think, like you said, like Stephanie, like to me, like since she showed up, like I said, she's the best technical out of like all the women, like the new crop of women that showed up, and in ring wise, and it's clear that that's gotten over with the majority of the fans, if not all the fans in NXT, right? So we know that she already has like, it's not even necessarily that the rocket is strapped to her back because she hasn't talked much. It's just been her in ring work that's gotten her over. So for us to believe that, it's like, okay, yeah, this should be a Stephanie Vaquer. Yeah, she's winning this, and then just use her momentum against her in a smart way. Because yeah, she still just got here. She's not unbeatable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can take a
took
title
a shot.
to the head.
She took a shot from the title, a behind the back shot from the title of from Fallon Henley, and it's like, okay, yeah, that it happens.
Yeah.
It's not like Shotzi was like being the heel in this situation, just interference that cost you to lose a match, which eventually just, long term wise, it's going to work your way into actually winning that title. So
exactly.
It all works out. It's unfortunate that like we can't really consider, unless maybe you might get a triple threat out of it. I don't know, but I just like that Shotzi's just wasn't fodder, and she actually got the win out of this. So shout out to Shotzi. Hopefully, you might pull up the upset.
Maybe
might pull up the upset. Those are all my mids, and we have a couple shakes.
Yeah. This is a quick one. Obviously, it makes more sense after SmackDown, but I had Roxanne tweaking that problem with Bayley. I'm like, you just salty because you lost your title. That's all that was. I'm like, Bayley ain't do nothing to you, girl. Like, you just really.
Why Bayley? Why is Bayley on NXT? No damn reason. The show was going off the air. Roxanne was just trying to give a State of the Union address of the former women's NXT champion.
You don't get State of the Union. You don't get one. You're not the champion. You're not the champion. Like, sit in the suck. You lost your title. Don't take it out on other people. That's all I'm saying.
Don't take it out on other people. Bayley came out and interrupted. Who is Bayley to be coming back to NXT for no reason?
Bayley can show up whenever we want. Even in work. Like, she can show up in kayfabe whenever she wants. She's fucking Bayley. I'm surprised they didn't start singing, "Hey, Bayley." I was waiting for it, honestly. Maybe like that age group has aged out, but she's a legend. She was like the legendary final girl. You know what I'm saying? Like the face of faces in that black and gold women's wrestling revivification that all four horsewomen, era. She was the face of faces. She can show up whenever the hell she wants. There you go. That's why she showed up. Because that's home. That's the crib.
That's lame. That's lame. Actually, no, but on the real side, like I do, it seems like they're working, like she's going to be moving over to SmackDown. You get a good pair of hands in Bayley, both Latino women, so you get that connection as well. I like this as if I'm talking as a shoot, I like this as a bridging gap to transition somebody from the NXT to the main roster.
Yeah.
Instead of just making their debut and then just getting into a feud, it's already kind of sparkling on NXT.
Yeah, the feud is there.
And then you're working it way onto SmackDown. And so again, just as a storytelling mechanic, I like it.
Yeah. BBL Bayley. It just reminded me. I was like, oh yeah. She was like, get some new material. She was like, it still works. She said it still works. Haven't heard that before. But yours? Corey getting pulled from commentary?
Well, go with yours first because mine's a little bit more of a, I guess, serious conversation. Okay,
yeah. Once again, I pay attention to these backstage segments. That's probably like my favorite, arguably some of my favorite stuff because that's storytelling, right? And we get a shot of the NXT locker room, and Dante Chen is basically kind of like where Rey Mysterio was 2 weeks ago when the New Day showed up, and he's like, "Hey, you need to find somewhere else to change." because Ethan Page is back there, and Dante Chen's like, yo, it's not cool what you did to Javon. And it's not even about that. They go on, have a match. Ethan hits Ego's edge, and he wins. But in the shot, they're in the locker room, and everybody has their locker, and everybody has their name, like, stylized on it. So you can see Dante Chen, you see Ethan Page, and then you see Gallus, and Gallus has one in the corner. And I was just like, y'all don't know that there's 3 of them? Why does Gallus have one locker with these, like, and they're bigger than everybody else in this shot? They're all over 250 pounds. I was like, they should have their own whole row. Like, what are we doing here? But
and this is like, it's not like y'all. It's not like y'all traveling. Y'all at home.
And this is where I was trying to make this champion of the week. Also, I couldn't think of one, but it was just like a movie production thing. Kind of like Game of Thrones. They in that last season they had the coffee cup left on the table. I'm like, that's just picky nits. But I'm like, there's 3 of them. Like, Michael got one, and you're in the corner. This is the worst place for 3 guys could be. So
they gotta like take turns using the locker.
Yeah, but yeah, that was it.
Or like they gotta have dividers in that locker.
Yeah. Just a slot.
Shake,
each one has a slot.
My last shake is you could kind of tie it to Raw, but it kind of leaked into NXT. Corey Graves was moved off of Raw once Pat McAfee came back off of football duty.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like he was going to be on NXT. And I don't know if you saw his tweets.
Yeah, I did read it. Mm-hmm.
Where he was like, he
he's like, I'm not famous enough or something for my own
he
job.
sent out a first tweet saying that, I had to stop my dream of wrestling because not by my own decision, but because of, health and, situations and whatnot. And then you move into another aspect within wrestling, which is commentary, which he's been doing. And he's been doing a great job for however many years. And then it's told that he's not famous enough. And so after that, everyone kind of assumed that he was talking about Pat. And then he sent out a tweet like 2 hours later after that saying, I have a lot to say and I'll see you on NXT. He was not on NXT. He was pulled from NXT. And apparently he was also pulled from WWE Speed because he does commentary on that as well. So some people take this as a work that it might be leading to a Pat Corey Graves situation.
Match. Yeah.
I don't know what to put out of it. I don't know if I was to be a shoot about it. I always said, like, I get it. Like, Pat McAfee, when you get Disney to pay you $10 million or however many $1 million to not even produce your show, but to distribute it. Fine. Like, I get it. Like, you have a following of some sort. I used to listen to Pat. Not anymore, just because, again, a lot of it is just no different than Barstool type of kind of commentary. And I'm like, okay, not the most nuanced takes here. I'll give props to like Darius Butler. And is it Darius Butler on that or whoever?
Darius Butler and AJ
Hawk can be pretty good at times and whatnot. But for the most part, I'm like, a lot of these guys you really can't take serious. I questioned, is Indianapolis even worth announcing that the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania and all of this shit is going to happen in Indianapolis? Like, how much are we putting on Pat? Like, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like, he's cool. He's all right. But it just seems... It seems like, oh, everybody loves Pat. And I'm like,
yeah. And then
cool, but like, is not.
It feels like they're equating like Pat with Indianapolis the way that like Bad Bunny was in Puerto Rico. You know what I'm saying? Like Pat's going to come out there and get like the most ultimate pop, which granted, I guess he somewhat does. I mean, if he's going to get anywhere, it would be in Indianapolis. But yeah, they're not on the same, wavelength for me. But it's not
even just Indianapolis. It's just like Pat as just like as a media icon. It's just because it's the same reason. Why do you have Joe Tessitore? because he has experience calling games. But guess what? When you listen to football on the weekends, guess who's calling games? Joe Tessitore.
Mhm.
Right? Like, he still has that job of calling real sports outside of WWE. And so when you hear Joe Tessitore call an NFL game or a college football game or whatever real sport that he is doing for ABC or whoever he works with, and then you hear him on Monday Night Raw, you're like, oh, this makes it feel more like a real sport. The same thing. If you see Pat McAfee on ESPN and on College Game Day, and then on top of that, his huge fan base that he's pulling in, it's like, yeah, this is more for crossover appeal than anything that actually has to matter. Corey is better than Pat at his job. Pat is just a fan.
Yeah.
That has a lot of energy. It's not saying he's not good at his job, but if I had to pick between the two as far as being color to the play-by-play, Corey does 10 times better at that. Corey's one of the best to ever do it.
Yeah.
So it's disappointing. It's kind of the same sentiment where, WWE talks about not wanting people that are fans of wrestling to be wrestlers. They rather you come in with a blank slate because they can mold you and shape you into like what you're not coming in with this preconceived notion of what a wrestler is supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same feeling. It's kind of, again, pushing away from traditional wrestling things and just getting into more mainstream cross appeal. And I'm like, does everything, like, how much? I have to keep out. How much $1 cost, man? Because if you give me Pat and Corey, I'm taking Corey 11 out of 10 times.
Yeah, because like you said, he's just, for the most part, he does comment, but it's like in that fandom, like the fact that like Braun Strowman has, his big ass shirt that says one big SOB.
Yeah.
And that's just from Pat, saying that. And I'm like, is that over? I guess. Like, I like the Monster Among Men. I thought that was good enough for him, but I'm like, are we just leaning into this one big SOB? But yeah, Corey's got it. I mean, it's not even close for me as well, but
it's disappointing. I hope it's a work, especially if it means like Corey can wrestle again, because like he was good. He was a good wrestler, especially back in NXT. I saw some of those matches, and there was a really good E60 that was done on him. It was an episode of E60. It was him, and two other wrestlers. I'm blanking on the names right now, but they kind of did their kind of follow along and kind of get into like their lives and whatnot as wrestlers. And I think it coincided with Corey having to eventually give up, wrestling because of the neck injuries that he was having and whatnot. So Corey, if he said, apparently he has taken some bumps, but I don't know if he's comfortable enough or wants to. I don't know. That's why I rather not speak on it. I just feel if it's a work, if it's a shoot, and it's the case that you're just not famous enough, that sucks.
Yeah. That would make me get on Twitter. That would make me get on Twitter if that's effectively the message that I'm getting back, for sure.
So, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Ready to move over to the coffee shop?
I am.
Take us to the coffee shop. I take you to the coffee shop.
I'm not going to completely ISO right here, but my Primo, this is a Primo and a Reggie at the same time.
Yeah.
This is, so Hook and Christian, or Hook gets the win over Christian, but in order to get the save, we got Samoa Joe returning, right? I'm excited to see Joe. I'm like, thank goodness. Immediately, the second that I see him, I'm like, it's all about where you're slotted, right? So I'm like, okay, TNT title, whatever. And I'm like, he's 44 years old, but this is Reggie, because I was like, hold on. I also got deja vu at the same time, because this is the same shit that he was doing last time we saw him. I looked up his cage match, like, your wrestling history of like all matches and losses and all that stuff. bruh, he loses the title to Swerve in April. And that's when you start all of this like Katsuyori Shibata and Hook, like he takes Hook under his wing type of shit. You know what I'm saying? And they have that feud for the Taz's title. I forget right now. I was about to say WTF, but it's not. Oh, FTW. That's what it is. The FTW title. That's when they have that going back and forth. And I'm like, are we really about to sit here with Samoa Joe just in this 3-man of Shibata and Hook again? Like we're just gonna endless faction warfare. And that really just pissed me off, honestly, more than anything, because obviously, like I said, immediate, like when you have the taste, Samoa Joe, I'm like, yeah, excited. And then, I put it in Reggie like 15 minutes later, once, you cool down and you're like thinking about it. I'm like, hold on a second, this is some bullshit. I was so mad. I was so mad, bro. Last I looked up the cage match and everything. I was like, nah, bro. So that's my Primo and Reggie at the same time for fucking Dynamite this week.
I don't have this anywhere on my side of the card. I was just kind of confused because I'm like, maybe I'm blanking on something, but I could have sworn the last time we saw Samoa Joe, he was on a forklift being put through a paper mache wall by Jericho.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I'm gonna look up his cage match. Keep going. I'm gonna look this up. I'll bring it back up.
Like, didn't he wasn't that the last time we saw Joe? Like when
So.
Jericho threw him through the drywall on the forklift, and we kind of clowned it because we were like, the forklift went through the wall before Joe did.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why is this? It just seems a random reason to like I'm glad that he's back. I just don't understand the context of like why he's doing.
Yep. The stadium street fight. You're right. That was July. So this is our first time seeing him since July. That was July 10th. That's the last match he's had.
So why is he going? Like, what does this feud have to do with anything then? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just rattle you off like some of his matches. Like since last time we saw him, his last match was Stadium Stampede. So this is reversed order. Hook, Katsuyori Shibata and Samoa Joe defeat the Cage of Agony, July. Hook, Katsuyori Shibata, Samoa Joe defeat the Learning Tree, June. Hook, Katsuyori Shibata, Samoa Joe defeat the Premier Athletes. That's May. He hasn't had his last singles win was May 1st last year when he defeated Isaiah Cassidy. But basically, like I said, since he lost the title, it's just been him and Hook shit.
Maybe they go for the trios titles. It seems like maybe there might be a Hook Shibata.
Well, maybe
Hook Shibata Samoa Joe versus the Hurt Syndicate for the trios titles.
Okay, maybe that's where we're going. But like, I just remember like immediately seeing that image, and I'm like, hold on a second, I've seen this before, and I didn't like it then. So I didn't like it, or at least it wasn't over with me. I like the guys, but I'm like, yeah, this isn't doing anything because it's really just been a nurturing path for Hook. Like that whole FTW title thing, I think was holding him back, and that was the story of like, oh, he's in the big leagues now, or like, stepping in with the big boys, and like Samoa Joe was like kind of like mentoring him throughout that time. So there was like the best part about that was like their little like walking dialogue that they would have like on the way to the ring. That was the highlight of everything because they were having like these like, I forget the movie reference, but I remember I was listening to Wrestle Talk and they were like, it's a specific reference to like how they were doing it, like The Usual Suspects or something like that, where it's just like so insignificant. Oh, Pulp Fiction, that's what it is. How they have like insignificant conversations right before they go in somewhere and like holding people to gunpoint. Yeah, like that's what they were doing. And I was like, okay, yeah, this is cool. And, Samoa Joe's gone. But either way, that's too much for the Reggie anyway. But I'm glad he's back. But hopefully give it a direction, I guess. That's what I'm saying. Because if I just get this interference and repeated, singles match, tag team match, just continuing this shit, I don't like it.
Yeah. Let's get into your other primo, and my mid-rising. Toni Storm winning the Casino Gauntlet match.
Yeah. Should correct ourselves last week because, it was Chris Statlander. She won the first slot. That's what that was. She won the first spot in the Casino Gauntlet. But, Toni Storm winning. I will say, I honestly didn't see it coming because I thought we were like you know, cooking more with grease with like Tony being an amateur, and like that's how they presented it. Even when she gets the win, she like does the whole scrambled out of the ring thing, like she does
Yeah.
this all the time now. Like, oh, I shouldn't be here. So now I'm like, it better this match because it's Tony and Mariah again. So I'm like, at least I don't. It doesn't necessarily need to awaken everything in her, but you got to see like that old Tony kind of crack. You know what I'm saying? Like break through a little bit just from the interaction with Mariah, because they actually haven't even been on screen together at all since Tony has been together. So I'm like, there's got to be like a nugget of story in there when it's like the real, Tony is like escaping the sunken place or something like that. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, Mariah, she was on commentary and she was like, "Oh, I faced timeless Tony Storm. I've never faced this Tony Storm. Like, it's like these are two completely different people and whatnot." So, it'd be funny if like Tony kind of like walked into like a beam and just like re-jogged her memory. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh my god, like gets hit by a frying pan or something like that, and just all of a sudden her memory just comes back of being timeless Tony Storm or whatever it may be.
That's all I'm waiting for. Like, when is the memory jogging gonna happen? It's gotta happen.
But the reason I had this in Mid Rising was I'm not surprised Tony won. I was disappointed that she won by the most devastating move of all the professional wrestling.
Yeah.
But if you're a rookie, sure, makes sense.
Yeah.
But did it have to be in a casino gauntlet match? Like, there's 5 other people in that fucking match. Like, how, Sway? How?
Nobody else saw it? Yeah,
that's where I was like, I get how it works for her character. She's a rookie, all that stuff. I was just like, you hate to see a casino gauntlet match or any type of like multi-person match like that just end with a roll-up.
Yeah. And also the big thing, all right, so the total, 7 people in the match. Chris Statlander, like we said, number 1 spot. She started against Jamie Hayter. The number 3, Megan Bain, debuting for AEW, who's from GCW, Game Changer Wrestling. They are, I mean, you can watch a bunch of their stuff like on YouTube. Like, they don't have like live events, but like plenty of matches and stuff. They are the closest thing to probably ECW, like old school ECW, like ridiculous spots, So I was surprised, but they made her look great. Like, she looked like the powerhouse, like just square. Like Chris, they really got Chris over as a powerhouse with her and Willow's rivalry. And Megan was not out of sorts at all. Like, her stature just worked for me. Julia Hart, Willow, Tony Storm, who obviously won, and Harley Cameron. But I just wanted to point that out. Megan Bain also making her, because I've literally watched one match of hers, and it was a hardcore GCW match. But I was like, okay, this is cool.
When I was listening to probably like the Masked Man show, they said that I think she was on AEW like year 1, but for like a hot second. Like, it wasn't anything like you would be like, oh yeah. So technically you could say it's a re-debut, but effectively it's a debut. It's a debut. Again, when you consider everything, not surprised. I get it. Again, I just don't like when there's 7 people in a match like that and it ends with a roll up. Yeah. But I get it for the character. I get it. It makes sense. So I'm not hating on it too much. Kenny Omega beating Brian Cage, and then the DCF Don Callis family.
Yep.
Beat down afterwards. This is mostly just to see Kenny wrestle. I'm like, it was good. It was a good match. And again, it's not like he hasn't wrestled. He was at Wrestle Dynasty last week, the week before that. So
doing way more intense stuff too. Way more intense.
But again, it's good to see that, like, especially if you weren't watching, Japanese television, if you're watching, if this is your first time watching him since he's returned, it's like, oh, okay, like there's no guardrails to what he's doing into the ring. It seems like he's back to doing what he does. So again, I'm more here for that. I don't really understand the Don Callis family. It's just a lot of factions maybe for me, but I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I'd say the Don Callis family, they're the most reputable. They're like, I would give them the equivalent of like kind of Paul Heyman not in like, I'd say just as a manager because of like his guys are successful. You know, we got Kyle Fletcher, we got even Will Ospreay. You know what I'm saying? Like Kenny was part of the Don Callis family. You know what I'm saying? It's just like Don Callis guys, I guess, if you want to think about it and shoot. But it made sense. I do like Will Ospreay coming down for the save. Who else would it be? You know what I'm saying? We get the holy shit chant, but it's like, hey, we already had this match, guys. So I mean, I guess we can have it again. I'm not mad, but I was just like, the holy shit I thought was unnecessary. And also we know that he's fresh out of his rivalry with his boy, or I'm not even saying they're necessarily out of it. There's still an ongoing rivalry between Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay. However, I was gonna say Shibata, not Shibata. Oh man, Konosuke.
Yeah.
Konosuke Takeshita and Kenny. That makes my mouth water for sure.
Okay.
I like that.
It seems like we're definitely leading up to. I mean, it looks like we're just going to be leading up to Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay. Well, Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay versus what? Takeshita and who would be his tag team partner in that?
Kyle Fletcher.
Kyle Fletcher.
Yeah, that's the tag match. That's next week or 2 weeks from now. Yeah, I'm sure that'll happen because, like you said, like it's just too obvious. Where it's like, oh, this is great. This is gonna be great television right here.
Yeah,
great graps. My other one that I had, or do you want to get your shake off?
You start off with your mids because my shake is the end of the match.
All right. Hobbs. Hobbs challenging for the AEW title. I loved this match because they protected him so well. Because there is a believability to even, like we say, sizes. Like John Moxley is a legit heavyweight. I think he's like 230. But Hobbs, when you're just talking about like a bodybuilder build, you know what I'm saying? This nigga different. This nigga genetics is different. Where you ain't gonna get him up off the ground unless you gonna work him. You know what I'm saying? Even the fact that he went for paradigm shift versus Death Rider, it's like he can't get him up for Death Rider, more than likely. But a quick paradigm shift, like quick whip DDT, I can hit you with that. But we got Wheeler Yuta coming out, hitting him with a Basaiku knee. We got freaking Marina Shafir hitting him with the briefcase, when his head was hanging through the ropes. We got low blows, everything. So the fact that he loses that way, I'm like, all right, I get it. But choking him out with the bulldog choke, I was like, fine. I didn't expect anything else, obviously. We got to wait for the super AEW Avengers, just like, we're building the Bloodline Avengers or whatever over at WWE. I think that's what it'll take. But at least they protected my guy. That's how I felt about it. So that's a mid-stable because it's what I expected also. Yeah. At least, Hobbs got the spot for a match. So that's a big spot anyway.
No, yeah, I mean, the match was pretty good. I enjoyed it. Again, like we knew that John Moxley was not going to lose the match. One thing that this is not even a nitpick or anything. This is just something that I spotted. Hobbs kind of has a similar body type to like Big E.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that I think separates Big E from Hobbs is that Hobbs is very top heavy.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like he skips leg days.
I'm gonna look up a picture of Hobbs right now.
Yeah, that dude, like he doesn't have any kind of legs at all. It's like he's all muscle from the top, and then you look at his legs, it looks like just he has small thighs, calves. I'm like that don't look like he works out his thighs. He doesn't look like he does the leg press. Yeah, I'll let you bring up the picture.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I'll agree. It's a very slight mismatch. I'd give his, like if you talk about filling out, like his top half is obviously a 5, and then his legs, I give it like a 3.5. If I was gonna match, his body together, I guess. But yeah, at least he's not like he doesn't look like he's gonna tip over or anything. He don't got legs.
Yeah. My issue not even issue. What I have in this match is the aftermath of the match. When, you know, the Death Riders, they do the Death Rider thing. They get on top of you and they start jump you. And then he's getting his ass whooped. They take off the brace that on his surgically repaired knee. And, you know, they start doing damage. And then they stomp on it. And then he's injured his leg. And who comes out after that? Cope and FTR. Where the fuck were you, my nigga? They beat this nigga up for fucking 10 minutes. And you only come out after the fact. They had to put the chair on his leg. Like, where were you?
That's the same shit I said about like Ray, like when Andrade was gonna beat down. I'm like, yo, you had a match earlier. Like, I know you're here. Like, what?
We'll get to Ray. Yeah. That was my thing. I was like, you couldn't have come out faster.
No, because like it just makes me think. Like, what are we supposed to believe? They're always, because we know catering exists back there. I feel like they're just like getting some fucking like honeydew or some shit, like a toothpick, and it's like they glance over at the TV, like, what? Oh shit! Like,
oh shit!
Like, is that where and then run out there like chewing pineapple still or something? Like, what the fuck are y'all doing? Like, everybody's watching the show. Like, come on.
That's what I'm saying. It's like they were beating this man's ass after the match for how long? And it took you how long to come out there? It took you after the fact that this dude got his knee brace. They took his knee brace off.
Yeah, broke his knee. Yeah.
And put the chair on his knee. Did all like that is plenty of no time to bring your ass from the back to stop it from even happening. That's what happens when you got a 48-year-old man helping you out.
You know, a little slow on that hobbled ankle.
Yeah,
right. He just came back himself.
Goddamn Cope.
Yeah.
Last thing for me on AEW is my Reggie. MJF Jeff Jarrett promo. This was terrible. This was terrible. This was damn near a 15-minute segment of just the worst, like Jerry Springer level of shock value of entertainment. MJF, again, I've said this before. Sometimes you could just be a little one-dimensional. Not even a little. Sometimes you could just be one-dimensional. Just because you say things that are crude and you say it at a level 10, don't mean it's good. Jeff Jarrett actually had a bit better of a promo because some of the things basically working off what MJF said. But then even him, he just made Yo Mama jokes, talking about Yo Mama is a hoe. For 15 minutes? Why is it on for 15 minutes?
Just to echo your point, I don't have this on here, but I did not watch this segment. But if anything, I would probably slot it in Reggie because I saw the length of the video. I saw 15 minutes and I saw MJF and Jeff Jarrett. And I said, no, I'm good. That's literally, I just didn't watch it because, I mean, you're doing all this speaking for it now, but I just knew it was going to be dumb shit, basically. And personally, I mean, we can slot Jeff Jarrett in whatever category of legend you want to, starting TNA, all this stuff. He's been around. But Jeff Jarrett personally has never done it for me. Like, the closest was like when he actually was in TNA, early day TNAs. But I don't need this. Like, it's just an odd coupling also for you to get me to try to care about MJF and Jeff Jarrett. I'm like, they are two different, like, divisions. You know what I'm saying?
MJF calling Jeff Jarrett's wife a hoe. Jeff Jarrett calling MJF's mom a hoe. It's just like, it was the worst shock TV that you could ever see. It was terrible. Like, MJF's promo was terrible. Jeff Jarrett's promo was terrible. It was all terrible. There's nothing good. MJF said on the mic, the last thing you want to see is, like, when you see Jeff Jarrett's face in your company, that's the sign that, like, that's the last sign that your company's about to die. And it's like, bro, that means AEW's about to die.
Yeah, that's
That's
a
what you're
transitive
saying.
property. Yeah.
Like,
If A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. Like you can't say that. Like it
like,
doesn't.
what is happening here?
I understand the point he's trying to say, but it's like,
I
yo, that's just
understand
a
that, but
bad line.
what
It's
is
just a bad-
happening?
Yeah.
The whole I just don't sit and watch the entire 15, but watch it and just skip through some of the parts, and you just be like, this shit is terrible.
I knew it would be, and that's why I didn't watch it. So yeah, I would have it in review
Terrible.
also.
So that's that. Those are my thoughts on AEW. Outside of that, that was a pretty decent show.
Yeah.
But
I give it
man,
like a B minus, maybe B minus show. Like Tony does it for me. Powerhouse Hobbs being protected in defeat. I like that. So those were the two big ones.
yeah,
Penny, obviously.
that promo. Oh, god damn. Because again, I was gonna first right. I was like, to your point, like I don't have as much a problem with Jeff Jarrett as you do. Like again, he's never been like someone I'm like, oh yeah, this dude is one of the best. I mean, he is definitely someone to recognize and appreciate. I'm not putting him up there with like the greatest of all times. You know what I'm saying? But again, it's the same thing. I don't care if you're in AEW or WWE, bro. Like, can we move on sometimes? Who's asking Jeff Jarrett to be in the world title picture?
Yeah.
I barely want Christian in there.
And asking us to care about it, though. That's really what the problem is. Because the character can have whatever motivation that he wants. I can believe Jeff Jarrett wants to be EW champion, but you ain't gonna. That story needs to be the serious grind for it, not necessarily like you leapfrogging guys who would be in that position, like MJF. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta slow burn it for Jeff Jarrett. And then even still, I would still have him lose. We talking about the Death Riders right now, so he don't got a shot. But yeah, I agree. Reggie for sure.
Let's move over. We have some extended hours at the coffee shop as we move over to Thursday.
Yeah. This was, man, I call this mid-major indie corner coffee shop, like just a different aisle in the same coffee shop, basically. But there are two big things. For TNA, I don't know if you watched this promo, but Joe Hendry and Nick Nemeth, like we said, that's happening tonight at Genesis, but they have their go home promo. And I wish I could remember who it was from WWE that said this, but Joe Hendry was like imploring with Nick Nemeth. Like Nick Nemeth is still a face.
I think it was JBL.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm saying in the ring when he was talking about, he was JBL like knocked his head off for whatever reason at their last match because Nick Nemeth also didn't have anything to do with that. But Joe Hendry just telling him like he needs to win and just over and over again, which I feel like that's what Stone Cold did. Didn't Stone Cold say that to The Rock? I feel like he was like, I need it. I need it.
I need it more than anything. That was WrestleMania 17.
Yeah. So that's where I'm like, all right, put the strap on him. Royal Rumble entrant. So I was just like, we already got the partnership with TNA. We about to talk about that or expanded partnership. But I'm like, all the more reason. Come on. I said it. Like, it's not WrestleMania, but that's the second biggest pop you can get. If Joe Hendry come out TNA heavyweight champion, say his name and he appears. So yeah, that'll be amazing.
I believe it, Joe Hendry. That Joe Hendry pop at the Royal Rumble is gonna be fucking fire.
That's gonna be fire. And also, just the ending of that was Ryan Nemeth came out and basically Ryan is like, hey, my brother beat you, fuck off. And he's super. And Joe Hendry gets the upper hand on Ryan. He's about to hit him with a standing ovation because, Ryan threw the first punch. But Nick protects his brother and super kicks him. So, not necessarily heelish, but he kicks the face that we care about. So, he was just protecting his brother. But the other thing, I don't know if I brought them up before, maybe slightly, but Reality of Wrestling, Booker T's promotion down in Houston.
Yeah.
I watched
part of the WWE ID program.
Yes, it is. I watched this promo between him and Zilla Fatu because I've been occasionally watching like Reality of Wrestling. I've gotten to know some of the characters and stuff like that. Like, this is great. I want you to watch this. This is a contract signing for Booker T and Zilla Fatu's match at forget, they're on like Reality of Wrestling like 424 or something like that. But like even the pay-per-views are considered like episodes, so it's just like number this one. But they're on delay, right? So I will slightly ruin this for you, but this is really about the promo. The promo was just amazing. Like he was like, oh, you don't want to do this, man. You don't want to do this. He's like, sign it. He said, you gonna sign it to prove that you're not a coward? You a coward like your old man, Umaga. And I'm just like, oh shit. Like, and you see Zilla, he started tweaking. He was like, oh no. He was like, oh yeah, you want some of this? And it's like, you don't want none of, some basic stuff. Booker's like, you don't want none. And I love how Booker leans into the evil, like Vince McMahon, kind of like he curls his mustache on the end. And anyway, just to ruin the match, because the match actually did happen already. But like he said, he signed that contract without knowing what the stipulation was. The stipulation was a Street Justice Rules gauntlet match that Zilla Fatu had to go through, which had AJ Francis, Booker T, Edge Stone, and Gaspar Hernandez versus Zilla Fatu. So that's the way that ended. And they beat the shit out of him. I can't find the match because obviously I was looking forward to it, but I went to Cage Match to look it up. And I was like, oh, this was 22 minutes long. They beat the hell out of him. So, I was like, Edge Stone came in, hit his fucking, he uses the Ego's Edge or Razor's Edge as his finisher too. Gaspar Hernandez is the current Reality of Wrestling champion. And AJ Francis, you already know. So, but yeah, when we get off the pod, just watch. It's a great little, 2.5 minute vignette that they have. So
yeah. Is Booker T a heel in his own promotion?
Yeah, he's a heel. Big time heel. Because really they fuse, bleed reality into or shoot into work. Because Zilla Fatu was actually Reality of Wrestling champion, and he was on his like own little belt collection. I think he had like 4 championships at one point. Like that was like May, June, July last year around that time. But I guess it was contract stuff, or he just didn't like, the way shit was going about it. But the storyline was, it's like, you was big, bruh. You was the one that I would go to for advice and shit like that. Because even Jacob Fatu said that he was like, his 2 guys, or Zilla said his 2 guys, are Jacob and Booker T. He would go to for like legit, advice. And it was very hurtful, like whatever happened with them. They just had a falling out and now they're back good again. And this was basically his ass whooping. That's the way I read it in storyline. This is the ass whooping he gets for like coming back to a Reality of Wrestling. So I got to figure out how to watch that stuff though, for real. Like their episodes are fully on YouTube. You can just watch that week to week, but their pay-per-views, I got to figure that out.
Yeah, I think I follow on. I think I subscribe to them on YouTube. So, there's just I subscribe to a lot of things on YouTube. So it's just you might add to your save to watch later, and then you'll just be like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll eventually get to it, but I gotta put a little bit more of an effort into it. Let's hurry up. Other things that happened on Thursday. Big announcement: WWE and TNA agreed to a multi-year partnership that will allow WWE, mostly NXT representatives, and TNA to kind of cross over on shows and premium live events on both sides of the border. So we've seen, some TNA stars, Jordan Grace and Joe Hendry over the past
Masha
year.
Slamovich. She was just there last week too. Masha Slamovich, the new champion.
And so this is, again, surprising move on WWE's part, expanding their borders, getting out of just the WWE bubble of things and just saying like, hey, yeah, wrestling as a whole. AEW, we already know they have Ring of Honor already under their belts and some of these other things. So now TNA, it's still its own separate thing, but to be able to have this close relationship on with TNA is pretty great. Gail King's over there. So some people are saying, hey, maybe she might be a surprise Rumble entrant this week, this coming year. Mustafa Ali over there. Nick Nemeth, former Dolph Ziggler. AJ Francis just re-signed. Hey, there's a lot of names. There's Moose over there. I just saw him and Austin. I said Austin Creed. Why am I thinking Austin Creed right now? Why am I Xavier Woods?
Okay, yeah.
They had a little back and forth on Twitter, So it's I'm interested. I'm curious. Maybe there's more of a chance that a belt might be lost to a TNA title person.
Mm-hmm.
Do you imagine that opens the door?
I would like that. I mean, because that's what our like hang up point was last time when it's like, all right, you got these challenging for each, but we're not in cahoots for real. We just got Santino and his daughter running this operation. Now we got the big wigs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now Shawn Michaels and Triple H is like, yeah, we can do this. So that makes it a lot more believable. I mean, are you? I think it's a case by case, but I think that says something. You know what I mean?
Said,
just
my booking was like, I wanted Joe Hendry to take the NXT Championship hostage before War Games, and then get a TNA versus NXT War Games match where Joe Hendry got the NXT Championship. It's like, what?
Yeah,
that didn't happen. But just throwing that out there. They're already promoting again. TNA Genesis is tomorrow, the 19th.
Yeah.
And they immediately updated graphics to have NXT logo on there, so there will be NXT some form or fashion on this show. So, and then we know that there's probably going to be, like I said, I can imagine Gail King is probably going to maybe be Gail King, Jordan Grace, definitely are probably going to be on there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I said Gail King, Gail Kim.
Have Oprah in the crowd too, like whoop their ass, girl. Gail King. Like it'd be funny. Hey, no, Gail King, like the beginning of her music, it's R. Kelly, but it's that you're killing me with this shit. She comes out. Yo, I don't know why I just can't. That would be hilarious.
But yeah, there are definitely opportunities for TNA performers to come out during the Royal Rumble, which should be fun. And hey, build some feuds maybe. Who knows? Who knows what could happen? So excited for that. But let's get into an expedited edition of the Book of Wrestling.
Yeah.
Because we definitely got to get through SmackDown still. Two on the bucket list, and a third one if you want to count it, if because it's not really Book of Wrestling, but it happened today. It happened. We'll start off. Well, they're all passings effectively, so we'll just kind of get through in a quick bucket. January 14th, 2014, Mae Young passes away. I'm not going to read this whole blurb because we all know who Mae Young is. She's not Moolah, so
yeah, she's not the fabulous.
So we like Mae Young a lot more. She's a legend. She's taken so many
wrestling
crazy
Betty White. Wrestling Betty White. That's what she is. The sweetest old white granny getting put through tables by the Dudley Boys. That's my image of her.
Giving birth to a hand with Mark Henry.
Yep, that one too.
So many iconic moments with Mae Young, and that was 10 years ago, or now 11 years ago. 5 years ago, on January 15th, 2020, Rocky Johnson, The Rock's father, passes away. Not going to get into all that, but I mean, we could say he was a cultural inspiration, breaking barriers in many in the world of wrestling, and amongst many of the NWA titles, he was the first Black Georgia heavyweight champion. He was also the first Black champion in WWF, winning the World Tag Team Champions with his partner Tony Atlas in 1983 from the Wild Samoans. So obviously, we know about The Rock's father. He was. Have you seen Young Rock?
Just hear that again. The first Black champion in WWE ever. That's enough of a historical moment. Like, you're a legend for that. But no, I have not seen Young Rock.
Oh, definitely check out Young Rock is actually a really good show. It's a really good show. I highly recommend watching it. You should be able to watch that on Hulu. But yeah, his father is all up in that, like, as seeing his influence. But I think both his parents in the show, he does a really good job of, showing how they like cared for him and whatnot, both in a good and a bad ways. But overall, definitely recommend checking out Young Rock. It gives you kind of a good insight on his upbringing. Finally, which this actually happened this year, this Thursday, January 16th, WWE Hall of Famer and Baseball Hall of Famer Bob Ueckert passes away. Are you familiar with Bob Ueckert?
Just the part of him being choked by Andre the Giant, like the classic, you know what I'm saying, interviewing stuff. That's what I remember about him. But
it's funny. I've seen that clip I've seen that clip, not even in full. I think I actually watched the clip in full last night when I added it to the Notion doc. But you've seen it in those like quick, vignettes segments of like WrestleMania where I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. I have no context of what that was for. That was WrestleMania. That was he was doing backstage interviews during WrestleMania 4. I'm more familiar with Bob Uecker as let you get your coughs out. I'm more familiar with Bob Uecker with being the broadcast partner on Major League. You ever seen Major League?
No, I haven't. But
You've never watched Major League?
No, the movie?
Yeah.
No.
Charlie Sheen, Wesley Snipes?
I'm aware. Yeah, I've never watched it.
Bro, what are you doing? Like, Major League is probably one of the best sports movies, like, period. Yeah. Like, that's not even hyperbole. Like, it's a good sports movie. It's actually, like, really good baseball movie. Like, because it actually feels like real baseball. Like, please watch Major League. It still holds up to this day. Major League is a great movie. But he's the play-by-play guy in Major League, and he's just hilarious. If you watch the clip that I put up on here, it's just some of his best bits. And like, there's one part in the beginning where like Charlie Sheen, where again, Wild Thing, he comes out to Wild Thing, which again, that's what the music that Dean Ambrose, John Moxley comes out with. So it's a lot of ties to it, but he's great. He's a comedian. He's been around for a long time. He used to play baseball. I actually heard that his batting average was like 197, so it wasn't the best baseball player. He wasn't the best baseball player, but he was great. He ended up being
good enough to cash checks.
Well, yeah, he was he made more of his career out of on entertainment. So he was on like a TV show, Mr. Belvedere. He did some stuff, but like I said, for me, he was the play-by-play guy in Major League, and he was just great. Like I said, there's a scene in it where Charlie Sheen, because he's like he plays a closer effectively in the movie, but he's from the penitentiary. He's like never really pitched. He just has a really strong arm, but he has no control. And so like his first pitch is completely nowhere near the plate. But like he's watching a beleaguered Cleveland Indians team. He's just a bit outside. It's just hilarious. Please watch Major League. That is wild that you've never seen Major League. It is so good.
Haven't.
Wesley Snipes in that movie is so good, and he can't play baseball for a lick. Wesley Snipes is athletic. Even in White Man Can't Jump, he can't play basketball.
Yeah, probably not that coordinated. He is an actor, not a sportsman. So.
He is. They said that because there's a scene in Major League where he's like, it was training camp, and he was trying to make the team. And he had missed his wake-up call. And so they were out there doing like 40-yard sprints, right? And he's like, oh, snap, I'm late for practice. And so he gets up and runs to practice and basically jumps in this middle of this race between these two other players in his PJs. And they had to record it in slow motion because Wesley can't run.
He just can't run generally. Like,
he's not a fast runner, so they have to make it run in slow. They have to roll the footage in slow motion to make it feel like, oh yeah, Wesley Snipes is like this athletic beast. But please check out Major League. Please check out Major League. All right, we are definitely running a little over time, but let's get into our final show of the week, SmackDown, the Boutique. And this one was pretty easy for me. This was a pretty mid show.
Very mid show. Yeah, that's really what I was gonna say. Yeah, super mid show overall.
I'll get off with just like the best wrestling of it was I thought it was MCMG versus Los Garzas.
Yep, same here. I had a hair of it to want to put it in Primo, just because I was surprised Los Garzas didn't win after they hit. Well, this would be a finisher in AEW. This is called the Fatality, but that gory special grip back to back into the slingshot RKO, like it's a front flipping RKO. When they hit that, I was like, oh shit. I was like, that should be the special. That should be the finisher, honestly. But that whole like tilting, double body military press, like neck breaker thing they do. I guess that works too, but great great wrestling. So I guess I wouldn't say surprising because I would have put money on MCMG, but as the match was happening, it was more believable. Actually, yeah, I will. I'm going to move this up to Primo. It was a very mid show.
I just rather have Los Garzas win. That's why I'm not putting up in Primo because I'm like, I'd rather have Los Garzas win. Not say I didn't like that.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right.
Pretty Deadly kind of caused them to kind of lose that match, so they have an alibi.
Yeah,
because they had the match, but the Pretty Deadly did a terrible job of distracting the refs.
Yeah.
So
completely
again,
backfired.
I'm really excited for this tag team division now that we actually have like real tag teams. I'm going to keep saying that. The fact that we have real tag teams that actually have collaborative moves and not just two individuals just put together makes me excited for what's to come for this tag team division. So I wish that if we were going to build a rivalry, let those Garces get the win. Pretty Deadly could be in it too. We can get a new. This could be a new era of TLC right here between Los Garces, Pretty Deadly, and MCMG. Like, come on now, that'd be fire if that was a TLC match.
Yeah.
So
like I said, it's just like sports in general. Like all the athletes are getting better with time. You know what I'm saying? Like this is the best wrestling that we've ever seen. I could say just throughout history because everybody's at their best right now. You know what I'm saying? Like this is, and you didn't even say DIY. They're actually the champions. Fatal 4-way TLC. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. And we ain't even Pretty Deadly. It just makes me so like they'll be like the Chelsea Green of the tag team division. Like hopefully,
they're Edge and Christian, man. They're Edge and
Christian. Yeah. Like I just want. I'm like, how long until my guys get to hold the titles? Like I said, if we're going off the cuff that like, all right, they're here for the long haul. They're not getting cut. We're not going to get any news in like July that it's like they've been released or anything. I'm just
if they're Edge and Christian, if they're Edge and Christian, they're going to hold the titles more than probably most tag teams. Because that was my thing when I was a kid. I was like, Edge and Christian is not better than the Dudleys and the Hardys.
No, but they had the hot potato aspect. That division was hot potatoing back then. That's what would be
not really, because Edge and Christian won both TLC matches.
Well, yeah, I just mean
like Edge and Christian came out on top more than the Hardys in a lot of those situations. And that, as a kid, this is a kid that was like knee deep into kayfabe. It pissed me off. I was like, "Fuck Edge and Christian," but then you realize like they're entertaining as fuck.
Yeah, I just meant and
they do those camera poses and stuff like that. That I'm like, they are pretty Deadly is this generation's Edge and Christian, and if that's the case, the same way Edge and Christian are like 6-time tag team champions, I see that in the future of Pretty Deadly.
I thought aren't they in the double digits? I thought Edge and Christian.
I'm just saying, like, I don't know the official number, but like the fact that like Edge and Christian always came out on top when you expected them to lose.
Yeah.
And I was just like, now you understand, like, both of these guys are great, but at that time when you watch these guys, like, you're like, these are dorks. There's no way the Dudley Boys and the Hardy Boys are not better than Edge and Christian. But somehow Edge and Christian always came out, whether it be cheating or they ended up just winning because of they were just, somehow ended up getting the win. Edge and Christian always ended up getting the win. And I could see that in the same vein for Pretty Deadly.
Yeah, I hope so. I like that booking. Hey, let's fast forward to that. Like, I want to see them get there for our benefit. 5 seconds, they'll stand still for flash photography.
That'd be great.
Love to see it.
You want to get into your mids?
Yeah. My mid that I had was Solo getting booed out of the ring. I just felt like this was a reinforcement of, obviously, I mean, we've been in kayfabe rooting for like Roman this entire time. He has the Lufala back and everything, and now he's.
You mean falafel?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what Drew McIntyre called it. He got his falafel back.
But I like, if anything, I like it just because I would keep it a mid-stable, almost maybe slightly increasing, just because mid-rising, just because this is the way that Solo should feel. You know what I'm saying? He should feel fucking sad and like, as I say, sit in the suck You're not the tribal chief. Get over it. You know what I'm saying? And now I felt that segment was like him just finally realizing that and being like, all right, this sucks, and he couldn't deal with it, right? And then for Jacob to take the mic and just start talking his shit, I was just like, okay, which I enjoy, but if anything, it just made me like, is there, I don't want to say trouble in the bloodline, but hopefully, I mean, we all want to see Jacob go like solo. I mean, he can have like backup and shit.
I mean,
but, like,
you know, at
matches.
some point that I love you solo is going to turn into I hate you solo.
Yeah, right. So when he says he's just getting started, I'm like, all right, that sounds like an individual run. You know what I'm saying? But I'm like, yo, you still got I love you. So like, he didn't say I love you solo also during that time. So it's like, we just got to address that somehow, I guess. Or maybe like, I don't know how you do it, but.
What's a king without a crown? Solo ain't got no crown. So
yeah.
What is this new bloodline? Hey,
can you even call it the bloodline if you don't got the Ulafala? You know what I mean? Like,
what's a king without a crown?
Yeah.
So it's gonna be interesting to see what comes out of that.
And immediately, what came out of that, I'll just skip to my shake, was Jimmy and Carmelo being interrupted by the bloodline because he said, "I'm just getting started," and then he immediately showed us. So I was like, okay, this is what you're gonna do. So that's what only disappointing because it was actually interrupted, but it does make sense. Like, but that's where I'm like, since y'all,
that's most bloodline matches though. Like that's the shitty thing about the bloodline matches is always going to end with some type of interference.
Yeah. So, but I thought the Jimmy looked great though. Like him and Carmelo, like that's like Carmelo was on his like Chad Gable, Will Ospreay, just fucking amazing. No matter who he's with, you know, getting footing right, taking hits and shit like that, selling. Jesus, I forgot the word sell. But that's all I want to say. That's my quick shake. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go with a quick mid. Piper over BFAB. This is more so. I'm just glad BFAB is still on getting TV time because with the Street Profits being hurt, they could have easily just kept her off TV. But if the backstage news is that everyone backstage loves BFAB and they like the work that she's been putting in, this, that, and the third, I'm glad that the Street Profits being out is not hampering her from being on TV. Even in a loss, doesn't matter. Get your TV time and get that practice in and get that work in. And, you know, again, you could still be a factor in this show. This 3 hours. SmackDown is 3 hours now. So I'm just glad that she's getting TV time. She had a pretty decent match, you know. Would I have liked her to get the win over Piper? It would have been interesting, honestly. Especially when you got Michin kind of also going out after Chelsea did at the US title. Don't sleep on BFAB. I'll say that. I'm not saying that she's gonna win it now. I think Michin is the first person to take it off the title. But I think there's an opportunity for her to, you know, build on her character from here. So I'm glad that she's still getting TV time, even though the guys are out of television. Because usually that'd be a terrible timing for her or anybody in that situation where it's like you're part of this group and then all of a sudden somebody in those groups get hurt and they're out of TV. So that means you got to be off of TV. And it's like, that sucks. So I'm glad that I hope this is not a one-off. And I hope that this is getting her ingrained into the U.S. Women's Championship picture. Yeah,
that's the interesting thing. Like you said, bringing up the fact that it's 3 hours. Now we got more time to work with. And now also that we got direction for the lesser used women. I guess that's the nicest way to put it. We actually have an Intercontinental and a United States title for women now, where even though the Street Profits aren't there, I can just logically, as a smart fan, be like, and see Chelsea Green on the, obviously with her partner, you know, on the outside, be like, oh, this is effectively a US women's division match. You know what I'm saying? Versus, you know, women's WWE championship division match. You know what I mean? So it's just easier to comprehend. I guess, and connect honestly, because when you were talking about like, yeah, get that practice in, get that work in, and people like are appreciating it backstage. It's like, yeah, you also got to give her that time to actually connect with us, because I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure that's probably a whole lot of those people's first time ever even hearing her music. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like just her music, not Street Profits, and she's coming out with them. So yeah, give her the chance to get over. That's really what she needs.
And this could also definitely work with, it's probably going to lean into B-Fab and Michin versus Piper and Chelsea.
Oh yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if that was I don't know what's scheduled for Saturday night's main event. If there's a women's, I don't know if Michin's got a match with her at Saturday night's main event, but I could see that being a tag team match, Michin and B-Fab versus Piper and Chelsea.
Yeah, I could see that for sure too. I wouldn't be mad at it.
Okay, let's get into the last subject on this show, where you have as mid, I have as a shake.
I like, Ray. Yeah, well, it was all about KO beating Ray. I mean, they told the story over the beginning, Ray declaring for the Royal Rumble, which is cool. 50-year-old man, high flying. We're going to see some 619s, right?
Yeah.
KO comes out with the Winged Eagle belt. And I mean, Ray just hits the nail on the head. Like, yo, you sound delusional. He's like, give me my dream match. Like making the Royal Rumble about him, which I was just like, oh, this is great shit. Great shit from KO, just being delusional, being like, I will be the champion that you challenge and give me my dream match at WrestleMania. I just thought that was great. And then for him to drop, like, I mean, Ray's talking real shit. You sound delusional like Dominic. And then everybody being like, ooh, and we know he's the lowest scum of the earth as far as like WWE kayfabe. I think the crowd believes. Like, we don't let Dominic talk. Dominic hasn't talked in a year. So I like that. Having the match, for sure. I wouldn't necessarily have Ray beating him, so that goes as expected. But you ain't got a package. You ain't got a package pile drive Ray. KO, come on now. He's just rageful now. KO's so mad. Like, nobody believes him as the champion. He's carrying our beautiful Winged Eagle for nothing. I mean, that's my thoughts. Cody come down for the save, had to stop. Can't break, Ray's neck. So
I have this and shake, and my shake is in my best Kendrick Lamar voice. Why is Ray still around? Like, he doesn't have a weird case, so I can't even say the full line, but like, effectively, Ray's got a weird case, man. Why is he still around? Because again, man, can we just move on at some point? Like, I get Ray is a legend, but bro, you joined the Hall of Fame now 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you still around, my nigga? Like, come on now. Like, I get it. You selling t-shirts and face masks and stuff like that. But like, we talk about Dominic being the scum of earth. What has Ray done for anybody?
Hey, he unified, the Latino states, the LWO.
Where the fuck is LWO? Who has he helped? He bring in people, and then he brought in Carlito, and what is like, oh, I need another person for WrestleMania. Who am I gonna get? Dragon Lee. Where the fuck is Dragon Lee at now? Where the fuck is anybody? And you fuck with Ray, Ray will just fucking ignore you like you don't even fucking exist. Why is Ray still around? Why are we caring that he's gonna be in the Royal Rumble? Nigga, you ain't been in a goddamn relevant in a title picture in how long? And nobody want to see Rey Mysterio, 50-year-old holding no goddamn title belt. Now, the same argument can be had with Randy Orton. Randy's a little bit more popular, I guess. I don't know, but at a certain point, can we just move forward?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't need KO versus Ray. I honestly don't. That could have been used with somebody else. Like, I just don't understand. Outside of, the historic and nostalgia appeal, what is Ray doing for us at this point? Other than just being there's nothing with this character that evolves. It's the same shit.
Yeah, I'd say just to flip your first question. I like it just for, like I said, you don't need Kevin versus Ray. It's just for the storyline of this episode. You know, you're telling a story over the course of the show. So it's
Yeah.
like, I'm fine with that for just an episode of SmackDown, I guess, because of the things that you just said. He's already, like, KO put him over. He's a legend. We already know that. So it's just, it's really doing work for KO in the sense of like just showing his delusion more so than it is for like Ray that's hogging up TV time, which is obviously part of it that can't be avoided by putting Ray on television. Because when you could have somebody else, like you said, somebody else in that spot. But I think it's just literally, I just think it's for the vacuum of the story of the show and
That's
which he's
fine.
helping
I'm sure
KO
they were
tell
still
a
in
story.
California too that night, so there's a lot of
Yeah,
Latino,
true.
passion out there, fandom out there. So I will accept that answer. If you're gonna keep it in the vacuum of this episode only, fine.
That's what I would say. Yeah,
but at some point, Ray either got to just be on a Legends contract because what the fuck are you doing? I don't even care for. I don't even care for another goddamn Ray Dominic match. Like, what are we doing? Why are you in the Hall of Fame if you just never gonna leave, nigga?
it's just been so inconsistent with
who's in the Hall of Fame but never doesn't actually retire. Like,
hey, you're right about that. Yeah, I think it's just partially that we've had such push pull starts with, like, for lack of better words, just the Mexican or luchador division. You know what I'm saying? Just separating. We know that you either get slotted into LW or you get slotted into Legado del Fantasma. So it's like you're either one of those two, and you're just going to endlessly fight each other. And that's why our hope is, Zero Medio Penta can hopefully dodge that. But that's part of the Ray tiredness, I would say, or like we're exhausted, like where I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And in that time, like you said, you haven't gotten anybody over. I don't think they were tag team champions during that time. Y'all could have accomplished that, but y'all didn't accomplish that.
Wear a t-shirt just to sell it. It's LWO was just made to make t-shirts. You haven't done anything with the LWO.
There you go. That's what that is.
What?
I was like, they're an expansion of Ray in the sense that, like, he put their stamp, he's the face guy, right? So he put his stamp on LWO. And that same kid that's wearing, the Rey Mysterio mask would be wearing a LWO shirt. You know what I'm saying? So it's as simple as that. I was just, like your point to the merch of just like, that's all they've really been doing. But I love you, Ray. Personally, you're a legend. Just but again, man, do something. Or at least if you're the writers, please acknowledge that this guy has not really been that good to the people that he's been around. Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, because at this point he should be like, I mean, granted, we did just see MVP get physical, but I was gonna say, just be manager for LWO. That's all you are. You shouldn't be getting physical anymore. Like, I should see you walk into, like, that should be like a very respectable segment when I see Nick Aldis talking to Rey Mysterio. You know what I'm saying? That segment's ending with a handshake, and it's because he got, Dragon Lee a spot in Elimination Chamber qualifiers or something. Like, you can do that, Ray, but outside, I mean, yeah, you're right.
Santos was not wrong when he just said Santos was not wrong. Yeah. Carlito was not wrong. And they need to acknowledge that. If you want to give Ray TV time and for us to have something to chew on other than like, oh, he's a WWE Hall of Famer. Okay, cool story, bro.
Yeah.
If you want to give something of weight, acknowledge that this dude has not been a good guy to his friends. Again, from a work perspective, he's not been good.
Well, he hasn't helped them. He hasn't been negative to them, though. He hasn't negatively affected their careers.
There's no reason that Santos or Carlito should not have been in that WrestleMania match. There's no reason that you bring in Dragon Lee. For no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Dominic
goes
a little far with call him a deadbeat, but like, is he wrong? Is he wrong?
In that sense. Yes. Do we know that's a punt too far? Like Dom talking about deadbeat. Like when we saw you at 8 years old in the ring, you know that's too far. Like we're questioning his like paternity and shit. Like, come on now.
I'm just saying, man. Like, if you're gonna put him out, just give me something to chew on. Because right now, I'm just like, all right, bro, cool. I respect you. I'm a fan, but you ain't doing nothing for me on TV other than just trying to sell merch.
Yeah.
And appeal to a demographic. It just feels like targeted. That's all. It doesn't feel like he's actually part of the wrestling show. It just feels like we're putting out here to reach a target demographic.
Like when Jinder Mahal won the WWE Championship. Jesus.
I don't have a problem with him winning the top. I mean, people want to hate on that. I don't give a fuck about him winning the championship. I'd rather have him win the championship than seeing Ray.
Well, yeah, I just talk about the aspect of targeting an audience. You know what I'm saying?
Don't put that on Jinder. Put that on the Great Khali.
I'm not putting it on Jinder. I'm just saying that it was a surprise when it happened. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, Jinder didn't go in there and say, make me champion. Like, that didn't happen. That was targeted for the Indian market. Duh. Like, that's 1 billion people when they were expanding over there. That's what that was. Like, and there's
at least he had a good gimmick. The modern day Maharaja, like that's a fucking good gimmick.
Yeah, I like Jinder. Like, no, like I said, it's not hate on Jinder. I'm just talking about the move, like the legit machinations that are happening.
Yeah,
like you said, just the targetedness of it. There's 1 billion people who speak Spanish south of the border. You know what I'm saying? You want to appeal to those people too. So,
and that. Anything else we want to speak on the boutique?
Nah, I'm ready for my champion of the week though.
Then get to your champion of the week.
Yeah, I did not mention this in a Dynamite segment because I was waiting for this. But
look at that. Falling Down. I showed you this movie too, like a few months ago.
The Michael Douglas impersonation title, where I was trying to find. The Michael Douglas impersonation title is going to Falling Down Ricochet. Just because I'm really liking the look, honestly. Like, I really like just the simple. Like what he attacked Swerve in. The only thing that was missing in this case was just him having the short sleeves. But I went down a wormhole. I was trying to find like just specific because I was like, he looks like somebody. And this immediately did come to my mind. So this was already number 1 draft pick. But I was like, there's got to be something else. This was about to be the Office Space. I need my TPS reports on my desk by 5. Can you do that? That was almost about to be that title. So that was the backup name for this, but I was like, I didn't remember his name, but he looks just, the clean white shirt, tie, everything, and him being like just a real piece of shit. Because in this movie, you already know what this movie is. This guy has a bad day and like loses it and slowly upgrades his weaponry like it's a GTA game. Mm-hmm. So now going from Ricochet being like the cornball still is, but like
cornball
with a mean streak. Yeah, I like this. Like if this is I like this whole character. If it's like cornball with a mean streak and just keep this like, you know, the half framed gold glasses. Mm-hmm. I like that. That's a nice look. I'm saying I'm in on this Ricochet. We're gonna keep doing this.
The corniness works. The corniness works. It works. I don't know how much of it is a work and how much of it is a shoot, but it works. It's overall the package is working. Yeah. Prince Nana, you gotta. I'm gonna need you to work on your chair swings.
so protected. You're like, oh man, you're like, that shit didn't hurt at all. He'll be fine. All right. He's gonna be fine from it.
I'm gonna need him in the gym like it's batting cage, like with a chair. Just like working on his chair swings like it's like he's in the batting cage.
And Swerve coming out with the chain, I like that too.
Yeah.
Like he actually smartly used it where he used like the whole length of the chain. Yeah. And like really put it on Ricochet, like get the fuck out the way. So obviously, like they knew that spot was coming. They rehearsed this stuff, but I was like, oh shit, he really tried to hit him with that. So, yeah, I like that segment. Just Swerve like showing us that hey, Ricochet's still a bitch at heart. You know what I'm saying? He just like he had a bad day and took it out on Swerve, and like he's like, oh shit, now he's like running for the fucking hills. So. Because just like Michael Douglas is a piece of shit, you know, in this movie. Mm-hmm. Like, you're just so white privileged and, like, not even realizing what the fuck is happening. Yeah. Because he just wants to get home. Like, get the fuck out of here. But, yeah, that's my champion of the week.
Good champion. I like the callback. Falling Down. Good movie. My champion goes back to NXT. And I gotta give it to one of my favorite M. Night Shyamalan movies, Unbreakable. They called me Mr. Glass. Title belt to Javon Evans, who made his return after the Ethan Page match. They got in a little brawl, and then the brawl worked itself way back into the ring, and then with one punch to Javon Evans, I guess surgically repaired jaw.
Yeah.
And wired done.
Yeah.
He was done, bleeding again from his mouth. And so for that, you get the Samuel L. Jackson. They call me Mr. Glass Ward, because that was hilarious to me. Like, you did all this fighting, and then you get in the ring. There was no brass knucks, no nothing. He hit you with a clean punch. And your joint you was out holding your joint, and then you was bleeding again. So I was like, I just found that funny. I just found that hilarious. It works within the story. I just find that hilarious that it just took one punch for that to happen.
That would also double up as like the original 6 trophies, making a decision without thinking about the possibility of the Fast and Furious award.
I live my life at a quarter mile of time.
Award, for doing
That's a good one. That's a good one.
About the consequences, because like we just saw you get your shit broke, and then you're just like, oh, this will go exactly the way I want. I'm gonna go out there and beat his ass. You don't think you're gonna hit one time? You don't think he's gonna target your mouth? Like,
you think Javon Evans works with like a Hannibal Lecter mask? To like, you know how like when somebody works with like with a broken nose, they got the face the Rip Hamilton mask.
Yeah.
Is there something that covers your jaw?
Yeah. That would be funny though if he has that. By the end of the feud, he'll use it as a weapon. Right? It's like reinforced or something. Yeah.
That's the jaw attack, whatever it might be. But no, I thought that was funny. Nice to see Javon Evans back. We'll see how that second jaw recovery works again.
That's a setback for sure.
So fragile.
That's a setback.
Anything else for this week?
I got nothing else. I would like to remind our viewers to follow us on all our socials. YouTube channel, Twitch, not TikTok anymore, because the US government had something to say about that, but I ain't mad.
Yeah.
So send us an email at the wrestling reup@gmail.com. No hyphen and anything, at the wrestling reup everywhere.
Hey, what's up? And we'll be back next week, episode 29. We'll be preparing for another semi PLE pop-up show with Saturday night's main event. We'll talk about what happened at TNA Genesis, if we remember, to get that on the card.
And we didn't even mention this is 28. Alperen Şengün. Let's start the all-star ballots are in. He's 6th right now. Number 28, right. Episode 28. Either that or Marshall Faulk. He a legend too.
Nah, this is Daryl Green. Daryl Green episode. That's what this is. Let's go, Commanders. We're gonna beat Detroit tonight and be one game away from the goddamn Super Bowl. So that's how we gonna end this episode. Putting that in the fucking ether that my Commanders will beat the Detroit Lions tonight and be one game away from the goddamn Super Bowl. You heard it here first. From the Habasha Hay Samson. That's the French fry fro Moody. We're going to catch y'all next week. Peace.